very good for me. But I want to show you Square. One thing that Square has, which is really cool, is if you use Square, they have a free cash register app. This is right here. It's a free app. So I set my cash register, and these are like the buttons for the different ice cream cones. I hit it and it lists everything. So it's kind of cool because I used to pay. I used to buy. I had to buy the cash registers, and they were all difficult to program. I used to have a cash register company come around 20 years ago, 15 years ago. There goes my microphone again. And program the registers. Now I can do it myself, and I use the Square app. So anyway, so that's the story with that. So, got a lot to talk. But again, it's one of those things where you can have a small business where you're selling things on eBay or selling things on Craigslist, and people want to pay with a credit card. So you can obviously take PayPal or something like that, where they take a huge fee. Or you can open up your own Square. Anybody can sign up for Square, okay? And there's no equipment required because when you sign up for Square on their app, right on the computer, it's called Virtual Terminal. You can charge credit cards right there, so you don't have to buy any equipment. What's nice though is that when I started my ice cream shops years ago, I bought the credit card swipers, right? That was a few $100. Then you had to pay a swipe fee to the credit card processor. Then you had to pay the percentage fee. Then you pay a statement fee. Then a deposit fee, and it adds up, and they nickel and dime you to death. That's why as soon as Square came out, what was it, 8 years ago, I signed up for them. It was the best thing I ever did. I use Square for my ice cream shops, all my ice cream shops. I also use Square for my audiovisual business too, because most of people pay with credit cards remotely. It's all over the country. So I use Square for that as well. So I've had good luck with Square. So I do recommend it, to anybody who has a small business or any business. But I mean, it's great because you're paying one flat fee. You're not getting nickel and dime. But I hate getting nickel and dime. Andrew does not know how to dip ice cream. He should learn though, chicken bucket. He should learn. So, how do you get started investing with everything so high? So everything is so ridiculously high now. I mentioned it. I did a TikTok earlier today. I mentioned it. Talk about ridiculously high. So I looked at a piece of property for sale a couple weeks ago, last week. I looked at some property. And actually, because of real estate agents. There's so many unscrupulous real estate agents out there right now, especially with the inventory being so low, price of property being so high. The agents are pretty much doing anything they can possibly do to get listings. They will tell a seller that their property's worth more just to get that seller excited and get it listed. And the problem with that is, though, that it becomes very difficult to sell the property because they're asking way too much money. People like me, investors, do the math, can never pay that amount for the property, and so now the property sits there. So the agent really did themselves no service except they got the listing, and they did their seller a disservice. But it happens. So, but right now it's very difficult with everything so high. It is being an investor. The only thing you can do is do what I do. When a piece of property comes across my desk, I do the math. I figure out how much it's going to cost. If I was to buy it, forget what they're asking. I look at what is my break even. I figure out how much it's going to cost me to break even on this thing, with all the expenses, the utilities, heat, gas, electricity, insurance, mortgage. How much is this going to cost me to have my mortgage monthly? Okay, so then that means I can't afford to pay any more than that. So it just wasn't meant to be, if that's the case. So you try to do it so you want to make money on it. And let's take a 3-unit, for instance. I always like to do the math with one of the units empty. What's the chances that you might have an empty apartment for a few months? The chances are high for whatever reason. So if you are a small investor starting out, you can't afford to have an empty apartment for a few months. You just can't afford it. So keep that in mind, when you're making an investment. But I did that with the 40-unit apartment house that I bought, a few months ago in December. I had to do the math on it, and I had to make sure, okay, if I do pay $3.5 million for this, I'm borrowing most of that money, 2.5 anyway. My mortgage is going to be high. Am I going to be able to afford to pay, with apartments being empty and turn around and turn over and going through the apartments, am I going to be able to afford it? So I did the math, and obviously I had to make sure that whatever I offered, I could, pay it every month on the mortgage. So that's why people can ask what they want. Right now, the prices are high. Some people seeing dollar signs. Oh, well, if that's selling for that, I can sell my house for that. Or I can sell my building for that. Well, you can list it. It doesn't mean you're actually going to sell it. You can list it for whatever you want to list it for. But again, if you really want to sell it, if you really want to make money, you got to be realistic. You got to be realistic about what you ask. So let's see what else we got. Have I ever had I have never had job security. Even today, I do not have job security. I always worry about, okay, an apartment's empty, right? Like I just talked about, am I going to have enough money to pay my bills? So no, I have never felt like I have job security. I really, I've never felt like I have job security. Does it get better every day? Yeah, it gets a little bit better every day. A good example is Butler Waste. Butler Waste is a company I started a year and a half ago, lost money for a year and a half. And just the last couple weeks, I'm feeling job security with that because, we're getting the roll-off business is just taking off. The roll-off, I bought out Rollaway when they were retired a few months ago. I bought out the other company I'm in last year. Now I actually see where the business is picking up, the cash flow is picking up. I've been doing some math. And of course, when Elmwood Realty paid their bill last week, that made a huge difference with Butler Waste. And now Butler Waste, actually, I see a light at the end of the tunnel. So I see a little job security there now. So that's good, we need more Brian. No, we don't need more Brian. We need less Brian, your daughter's looking for a townhouse. The prices are high. And, it really is unfortunate. The prices are so high right now. And the thing that I'm afraid of is even if people struggle to pay the high price, what happens if the bottom falls out in 3 months, just like the banking crisis back in 2008? What happens? Now, all of a sudden, you have all these people that own these properties that are upside down with these high mortgages, and they're upside down. So that's the problem with that. Don't leave the trash in the driveway. Yeah, that was funny, Make Money, that video you made the other day. It's funny, though. It's you see trucks driving down the road, and trash falls out of the truck, but yeah, that's why, Brian, we did that little video for you, Make Money, out in the parking lot. We were sweeping the parking lot to show you Butler Waste. We sweep. We wash, we polish the parking lot. I am thirsty today, drinking my Dr. Pepper Zero. Hello, Go 1836. Will you stay on Elmwood Realty to keep their bill paid at Butler? Yeah. So here's the funny story about that, which, by the way, that was a true story. I'm not lying. The other day, I was all mad at them thinking, I got to loan them money. How dare they not be making enough money? And then, of course, Mike said to me, Jeff, if Elmwood Realty paid their bill, we'd be fine. That is a true story. And, of course, I accepted that and realized, yeah, you're right. So that bill I paid of the $31,000 was just the roll-off construction dumpster bill that Elmwood Realty owned from the flip houses and the remodeling of the apartments. Elmwood Realty still right now, tomorrow I got to pay the bill, owes the bill for the permanent dumpsters. So make money, like the dumpster you folks have at your apartment house. So I have 50 of those out there, and I think Elmwood Realty's billed for that since March or something like $40,000, something like that, for all the properties. So tomorrow I got to pay that bill. So it's just funny because as long as Elmwood Realty pays their bill, now that shows you what I was paying before I started the business. And that was one of the reasons why I started Butler Waste to begin with, was Elmwood Realty was paying a ton of money between the construction dumpsters and the permanent dumpsters. Elmwood Realty was paying a lot of money every month. So I had to do something, and that's why we started the business. So, people ask, well, why do you pay yourself? Well, I have to pay the bill because Elmwood Realty, obviously, makes a profit every year. The profit, when I say profit, it's not profit that I put in my pocket. It's profit that I reinvest into the business again. That being said, it is still profit, so I still have to pay taxes on it to the IRS. The less the profit, the less the taxes. So that's why it's important that Elmwood Realty pay the bill to Butler Waste, because that's an expense, a expense that's a write-off to Elmwood Realty. So Elmwood Realty does not have to pay the taxes on it. Now, Butler Waste, on the other hand, does have to pay taxes because it's income, right? The thing about Butler Waste being a new business, having a lot of debt, doesn't make a lot of profit. So that's why, even with that money coming in from a realty, Butler Waste has enough write-offs themselves where they it's non-taxable because there's so many expenses that Butler Waste has. Butler Waste has to pay some debt, has to pay me back because I loaned Butler Waste money originally to start the business. So that's why it's in Elmwood Realty's best interest to pay Butler Waste. So, and that's, it's the accountants. That's what they do. That's why I hired a full-time CPA in my office a few months ago because I'm not great at that part of the business. I admit that. That's one of my weaknesses, is tax law and knowing tax law and how to declare things and show things and write-offs and depreciation and expenses. I know nothing about that, and that's why, you need an expert, and that's why I brought an expert in. And she's teaching me well. Hey, Dover, New Hampshire, how you doing? If a unit is fully paid off, is it smart of you to make the unit all utilities included or no? I would not include the utilities for a couple of reasons. A, human nature, people waste. So if you're including the utilities, somebody else, look, they're not paying electricity, they're not paying the heat. The heat will be at 90, electricity, the lights will be on all day long. So that's number one reason why I don't do it, don't include the utilities. And the other reason is this: if the tenant turns out to, for whatever reason, stop paying their rent, whatever happens, right? At least you're not on the hook for the utilities while they're not paying. When I look back during COVID, where I had tenants not paying me for 8 or 9 months, if I was paying their heat and electricity, I don't know what I would have done. I would have been beside myself. The fact that at least I know I wasn't paying the heat and electricity and paying them to live there for free, that I would have been beside myself. So for me, I do not like paying the utilities. Whenever I don't have to or whenever I can get away with not paying utilities. If it's separate in an apartment, I try not to. So now the Section 8, when Section 8 pays us, if you include the utilities, they do pay a higher amount to cover the cost of the utilities. So, for instance, say Section 8 pays $800 for an apartment, and you want $1,000 for the apartment. They pay $800 without utilities. They might pay $1,000 with utilities, something like that. But again, I tend to not want to pay the utilities. I rather just have the tenant pay the utilities because I just think human nature. If it's given to them for free, they're gonna waste it. So it's like the kids leaving the lights on. I go upstairs in my house, the lights are on, the kids leave the lights on. Why? Because they're not paying the bill. So I guess that's the example there. Nice day today. The sun is actually setting right across from me, and so it's a nice day today. I hope the housing market becomes affordable again. Because to purchase housing. I was looking this morning, so I'm always looking myself. So I was on the MLS this morning. There's hardly anything out there for sale. I think this is the worst it's ever been since I started investing. So in about 10, 12 years, the inventory is so low right now. With the inventory low, it's supply and demand. People are charging more. Right now, the cost of everything is going up. As we know, gas, building materials. I had to buy some electric meters last week, double the price. Electric wire, 3 times the price. Because the building materials and the expenses are going up, the labor is going up, that's what's driving the cost of the houses going up. New houses, remodeled houses, doesn't matter. That's part of what's driving the costs up, is the expenses of building them, repairing them, remodeling them. That's what's driving it up. So let me see here. Mark Crane, Jeff, will you hire me? I don't know. What do you do, Mark Crane? We do have openings. We have an opening for. So I've talked about this for a couple weeks now. I am looking for plumbers. I need apprentices. I need a journeyman. I need a plumber's helper. I need a licensed plumber. And especially with the licensed plumber, that job there, the amount of money that guy can make or woman could be endless, because I want to be able to partner with that person, start a plumbing business where we can go out and do work for other people. But the problem is there's just no plumbers, or hardly any plumbers out there looking for work. And especially this time of year. What happens in the winter, a lot of these companies, these oil companies and plumbing companies, hire plumbers, come in, maintain the heat, fix the heat. Then in the summer, they lay them off. So maybe in a couple months, I might have an opportunity to hire somebody. But what happens is they hire these people, pay them top dollar, and then they lay them off. With me, it's a little different situation. I'm a year-round employer, so I bring them year-round. But again, the market is really that. Talk about the housing market being expensive. That's the problem too. There's a shortage of plumbers and electricians and HVAC guys because people are not going to that profession. I was talking to somebody about this today at this memorial service I went to. We were talking about that. It's not glamorous to be a plumber, but if you're a plumber, it's about business. You're making a ton of money, right? It's not glamorous to be in the trash business, but if I'm making money, that's all I care about. It's all about money. It's all green either way, okay? And that's the thing to look at. It's about business, Pawtucket Section 8, Section 8 usually pays market. So I know you're saying Pawtucket Section 8 is paying below market. I think I have some Section 8 tenants in Pawtucket. And, you might want to double check that and make sure you're getting the max. What happens is very often, the towns will say, okay, we'll pay whatever, $1,200 for a 3-bedroom apartment, right? But the landlord's only charged $900. Well, no, raise your rent. Get as much as you can, charge the market value. So you might want to just double check to see what Pawtucket is paying. I don't handle that end of it in my office, but my property managers know that, in a market, we charge as much as we can, to those tenants to make sure we are staying within the market rates. We're not above market, we're not taking advantage, but we are charging the market rates. Let's see, what else is there? Hey, Bermuda. I love Bermuda. Bermuda was one of my favorite vacations I went on. Took a cruise there a couple of years ago, family vacation. It was beautiful, 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 Bermuda. Beautiful. The weather was nice. The people were so nice and friendly. Spent 3 days there. Whenever we go on a vacation, we make sure at least one of those days we take a tour. In that particular case in Bermuda, I remember taking a private taxi tour. We get a taxi driver and he gives us a private tour around the island, and she was fantastic. The woman that drove the taxi was fantastic, and in fact, she owned a little ice cream shop, and she drove us by her little ice cream shop that she had, which was really, really cool. Her husband was actually working at it that day, but yeah, no, I that was one of my favorite. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Square tracks your cash and credit transactions per day. So here's what's fantastic about Square. And that's a great question. I started today off the live talking about Square. So Square is a credit card processor, right? It's a little register. You get a virtual register. I use iPads at my stores, and they sell these little Square stands that are about $120. So the iPad fits in the stand, and it sits on top of a cash register. So what happens is you run it just like a register. Touch screen just like a register. You charge the customer. Say it's $5. You put in the $5. If it's a credit card, you swipe the credit card, and they charge the card, and it goes into the account, which is the next day. That's the other thing too. Other credit card process takes 2 or 3 days. Square, it's in your account the next day, in your bank. But if you take cash, you put in pay with cash. The drawer opens. You put the cash in. Now, at the end of the day, you close your store. For me, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, end drawer. I get an email. So all my stores, I have 9 registers, 3 at each store. As each register closes, it sends me an email that night. So I'll be sitting watching TV at home, 10 o'clock, I get an email. Okay, that register did $632. 200 of it was cash, 432 was credit cards. So I know that night what I did for sales. I don't have to call the stores. I see it in my emails. I know it's getting deposited into my account the next day. I can tell you something. Square has been great. Now, here's one for you. Why do some businesses not take credit cards? They only take cash. Now, obviously, if you're only going to take cash, you can't use the Square app because the Square app is for people that take credit cards and cash. But I am so tired of people, cash only, cash only, cash only. Who are they hiding from? Who are they hiding from? What, they're hiding to not pay their taxes? Cash only? I know that over the years, it has flip-flopped. I used to maybe take 20% credit cards and then 80% cash, then 30% credit cards, 70%. Last year, 2021, it was about 65% credit cards, 35% cash. More people carry credit cards. Now, when I say credit cards, I'm talking about credit cards and debit cards. Most people pay with credit cards and debit cards. So if I was only going to take cash, right? Oh, I have cash only. How many of those people am I going to lose? How many of those people that don't carry cash with them don't, lose? And also the amount of the sale. People, I think, when they use a credit card, tend to buy. I think I'll get a banana split instead of a large ice cream cone or a 2-scoop. I'm going to get a banana split, or I'm going to get a sundae. So that's the other reason why credit cards are worth it to take, and it's safer. There's less cash in the store. God forbid you get robbed or something happens or somebody steals from you. There's less cash to worry about in the store. So there's so many reasons for me to take credit cards as well as cash. And I'm not hiding anything. You run the business the right way. You got to pay your staff. You got to pay your expenses. You got to pay your bills. So yeah, if you make a profit, you got to pay a little bit of taxes on your profit. That's just the way it works in the real world. Hey, CEO Heidi, how you doing? CEO Heidi. Oh, I like that. CEO Heidi. I like that. Yeah, they don't want to pay taxes, but again, if look, if you're running the business the right way, you pay your taxes. It is what it is. The more money you make, yeah, okay, you pay taxes, but you're still making more money. I'd still rather bring the money in and pay the taxes, not bring the money in. So to tell people, I don't want your money, I don't want your credit cards because I don't want to pay the taxes on it, that's kind of anti-business, anti-productive, and I'm not going to say stupid, but a bad business decision is what I will say, a bad business decision. So use payment POS. So when I started my ice cream shops years ago, it was awful. I remember I had to buy the machines. It was $300 for each credit card machine. Of course, I could only afford one at each store. The problem with that is if you have 3 registers going now, the people that stand in line and wait to use the credit card machine, now the register is the credit card machine. That's why I have 3 at each store. And it just makes the line go by quicker because each employee has their own register to use, so the sales go quicker. We're turning over the customer quicker, getting another customer. So the volume is a lot quicker, volume's faster, and you're making more money because you're turning over the customer more. They're not standing in line waiting for you to swipe the card. These people that for me, people say cash only. They will never win the argument with me that it's better for business to be cash only. Never win the argument. Never win the argument. I mean, even for that matter, last year, I went to, Six Flags. We have season tickets to Six Flags. So I take the kids. The season tickets that we have are great because you can go to any Six Flags you want in the country or actually in the world, because I know there's one in Mexico and one in Canada now. They are no cash whatsoever. They are only credit cards. They actually have kiosks now there that you have to go and put your cash into the kiosk. It spits out a credit card, and you use that at all of the games and the concession stands and anywhere. The gift shops is a credit card. They don't even take cash, okay? So they are zero cash. And I wish I could set my ice cream shops up that way. The problem is those kiosks are very expensive. Obviously, Six Flags can afford it. I can't afford it. So I wish I could do it at my ice cream shops, but I can't. I tried to figure out every which way I could do it to make it, non-cash. But yeah, I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, so that's why take credit cards if you're gonna have a business. Come on. Yeah, so CEO Heidi, what kind of business do you have? I'm curious. Since you're a CEO, you must have a business. I'm curious, what's this question? Yeah, open lines. Why does Walmart have 20 and open 3 laugh out loud? Well, what's funny about that? So I was at Walmart the other day, and I gotta say they had a lot of lines open, but they had like 8 or 10 of those self-service kiosks. Which, you know what, is good, because if they didn't have the self-service kiosks, they probably still would have had maybe the 8 or 10 or whatever it was open. The self-service kiosks, for me, look, I don't like use them like the next person, especially if I have a carriage full of stuff. I got 1 or 2 items, sure, I'll go over there and do the 1 or 2 items. But you know what? How lazy am I? Obviously I could do it, but I'm lazy. I don't feel like going there and scanning and figuring out and reading and putting the card in, and all that stuff. I don't want to do it. Home Depot has it too, and I always like to go to the live person. I guess it's out of habit, that's how I grew up, But anyway, so the Jacksonville Zoo, the Florida Zoo was the same thing. They had. Are they just credit card only? Soon there won't be money being made. Well, that's true. Make money, you're absolutely right. Soon it might just be credit cards and debit cards, plastic, whatever, virtual money, whatever it may be. I mean, I have the Apple Pay on my phone. I guess everybody has Apple Pay, right? On the iPhone, it's built in. And I got an Apple credit card, the new Apple credit card that came out like a year ago. So I got one of those. It's on my Apple Pay. Now I have yet, and of course this is stupid of me, I know that whenever you use the Apple card to pay, and you tap it with your phone, however you do it in the store that accepts it, you get like 3% back on the Apple card. Now, I do use the Apple card for a lot of stuff, and I do get my 1% and 2% back, which is really good percentage back on the credit cards. But I have not done the tap thing, and I don't know why I don't do it, because you get more money back if you do the tap thing. But I haven't taken the time or the effort to learn it, so shame on me. The one thing I just started doing recently is, if you notice, a lot more people are charging credit card fees, especially if you pay a bill online. I got one for you. I was paying a bill yesterday. I'm trying to think what it was. It was an insurance bill. So the insurance company, the bill was $389. It's a monthly bill I pay for flood insurance, actually, for one of my properties. Well, I think it's First Insurance Funding. So I went to pay it, and I saw there's a $15 technology fee. If I pay online, whether it was a check or credit card, on their website. So if I log into their website and I pay, they were charging a fee. So I said, well, frig that. So I went on to my website, which I use TD Bank Bill Pay, and I put all their information, and I paid through TD Bank, and it was free. Why am I going to pay the $15? So always, that adds up. So that's another suggestion I'm going to tell people. Look at each bill that you pay, and if there's a fee involved with paying the bill, because they're scumbags, they nickel and dime you, look to another way of paying that bill. That will cut down those fees. But a lot of companies will charge a credit card fee or a convenience fee, whatever they call it, credit card fee. Or, like I said, in this particular case, they would charge me if I paid with an ACH with a check. I was like, bullshit. So that's why I went on to TD Bank, and I just did the old bill pay, which they mail the check, and it's free. So that adds up. Every Sunday I pay bills. Yesterday I paid, this morning actually I paid like 25 bills. That's the reason I say yesterday, because yesterday I actually started early paying my bills. Because I knew I was going to be out today, and I didn't know if I was going to have time to do it today. But I always look to see who charges fees on the credit cards, on the bills, because again, it adds up. If you're paying 20 bills at $15, it's I mean, $300 for what? Just to give them money? They're already getting enough money. So again, all those things add up. The DMV charges fees, right? Hey Johnny boy, thank you very much. The DMV charges fees. If you use a credit card, they charge fees. You're absolutely right. So a lot of people do charge a lot of fees that add up. Now, I know they call it a convenience fee, and by the way, I'm not putting them down for that, because I do it in my audiovisual business. My audiovisual business, our conference is huge. So when we did a conference a couple weeks ago, it was $40,000. So I use Square, right? Well, at 3.75, do the math on $40,000, right? So 3% of $40,000 is a huge money. What's that? 43. So it was $120, right? That I'm paying just for the privilege of, actually it's more than that, it was about $200 for the privilege of using the credit card. Or I'm not, so I charge the customer the fee. We pass the fee on to the customer. But the customer can avoid the fee by paying us with a check. So that's why it's called a convenience fee, because it's an expense that I'm incurring by using the credit card company, but I offer that option to the customer. Hey, you can pay with the credit card if you want, but it is going to cost you the $200, the 3.75. But if you want to not pay that, pay with a check. So that's exactly why I pay my bills. If the customer, if the vendor doesn't charge a fee, yeah, I'll use the credit card. If they charge a fee, I'll use a check. So it gives me the option. So I do the same thing with my customers. I give them the option. So let's see. Yeah, so the credit card companies, when you pay for something over the phone, they charge a higher fee. So you got to charge the customer the fee, because right now in this day and age, when we're pricing on an AV job or a conference, we're really tight on the margin, the profit margin. So an extra $200-300, that's a lot of money, right? So, but we tell the client, look, if you want to pay with a check, pay us with a check. Yeah, I know, Rhode Island, what this person is saying. Even if you're found not guilty, you have to pay court costs. Yeah, that's not fair. I agree with you. That is just a money grab in Rhode Island. If you go to court
and you're found not guilty, or they drop the case, or whatever it is, you still have to pay the court fees. That aggravates me. That happened to me in Cranston a couple of months ago, and I think it's disgusting. If they find you not guilty, or if they drop the case or drop the charges, whatever it may be, they should just let it go. But nope, they charge the fees. So that's a money grab. You know, what are you going to do? But that's awful. You know, hey, you want to know what that's? Listen, you want to know what that is? Somebody just asked me. It looks like a cat swiped you. Do you guys want to know what that is? Seriously, I tell you the truth. I shit you not. You know what that is? I went to Job Lot yesterday, right? I wanted to buy some new reader glasses, right? So these aren't the ones, but the reader glasses I was trying on are plastic, right? So one of the plastic ends was like sharp. It was really, really sharp. And I didn't realize it. I went to put it on my head, and it went just like that and scratched my head. I shit you not, true story, that's where the scratch came from. And because I bought a couple of readers. Listen, I like to spend a lot of money on my glasses. These were $2.99 yesterday at Job Lot. But yeah, that's where the scratch came from. Yep, see, I don't mind sharing that with you. Yesterday, because I needed a couple of pairs of glasses, and you know what the problem is? So I buy a lot of the metal frame glasses. You know the metal frames? But these things always break off of the, you know, the little nose things. They always break off and I lose them. And now I got a piece of metal sticking into my nose. So I figured I'd try these. Are they the prettiest glasses? No. Do they get the job done? Yeah, I can see. These are not prescription. I wear contact lenses, so I do have prescription glasses. Coke bottles. I have Coke bottles. So I have very bad eyes. I'm literally almost legally blind. Someday I'll put my Coke bottles on and show you guys my Coke bottles. But I wear contact lenses. I wear these for reading. So I put them on to answer the questions. So because I have an iPad here that I look at the questions on. Yeah, my wife scared me. Yeah. You know, the Warwick Housing Inspector. Well, you know what? They do watch my, listen, I got it right here. Nobody believed me when I told them, look, I got a violation. I got a violation from the city of Warwick. When this came, I had to have a good laugh. When this came, look, I'm showing you, look, city of Warwick, right? Look how big they got, right? Final notice of violation. Now, let me tell you what happens with that. They'll send you the first notice, then the second notice, and then a final notice, okay? Ooh. After the final notice, they take you to municipal court in Warwick. I'm going to tell you a story about that. But anyway, so this is a legitimate violation. Now, the violation, okay, the first sentence of the violation is, it's been brought to our attention to the building department through a TikTok video, okay, that electrical work was performed without a permit. Now, what they're talking about is, I did a TikTok video, you can go back maybe about a month ago, in one of my properties where we took down the old metal halide light fixtures, the old ones that, you know, those ugly yellow metal halide, and we replaced them with some nice new LED, energy efficient light fixtures. And I put them up, and I showed on TikTok how much brighter it is and safer for my tenants. So the building inspector, who is infatuated with me, obsessed with me, whatever you want to call it, stalked me, he saw the video, or one of his minions saw the video, and that's what happened. He goes, oh, I'm going to get Mr. Butler. Dudley Do-Right finally got his man, right? Well, he got me. He got me because I changed out a light fixture and I didn't take a permit out. So he's already sent me 2 violations. This is the 3rd one that came the other day. Obviously, so here's what's going to happen with that. They're not satisfied with my response. They're now going to take me to court in Warwick. Now, the municipal court in Warwick used to be a wonderful place. It was a great court because when you went to court, the judges in a municipal court in this area, in Rhode Island, the judges are all lawyers. You know, and they're part-time judges in a municipal court, but they're lawyers, okay? So they've represented defendants and plaintiffs, right? So they learn the law. And this other judge in Warwick, Judge Gerstenblatt, who used to be the judge in Warwick, was great because he was a lawyer, so he knew both sides of it. So you went in front of him, you knew you were getting a fair shake, which is all I want is a fair shake. The new lawyer, the new judge in Warwick, the municipal judge who came on with this new mayor, Picozzi, you know, he brought her on. She worked for the Attorney General's office in Rhode Island. So I guess she was a prosecutor. She never was really a defense attorney. She was never a private attorney. She always worked for the Attorney General. And it looks like she was a professor, a law professor. When I looked up her biography, or whatever you want to call it, on the internet. Nothing wrong with that. So she looks like she has some real clout, some real education behind her. Really, I mean, credibility. I'm not questioning that at all. The only issue is that she got a job working for the city. Her relative is one of the council people in the city too, which is non-issue. Okay, I don't care about that. But the problem is that because she's a former prosecutor, does she only look at it from that point of view? I don't know. I'm asking myself. I've only been in front of her once. The time I did go in front of her, I lost, and it is what it is. What's fair is fair. But I turned right around that day and I appealed it. When you appeal, so that's why I'm talking about the appeal, and I tell anybody this. Listen, don't take no for an answer. One of the reasons why I think that I'm successful is because I take chances, but I never take no for an answer. I don't look at everything as a brick wall. How do I get around this brick wall? So when I went in front of her, I lost in that particular. In fact, that was the case I did a TikTok on last week. Oh, I don't think I posted it yet because that's the series I'm doing on the Warwick Building Inspector, but I'll tell you the story on that. They want to get into what they want to and have not yet, it's been over a year, want to do an inspection of one of my properties, and I will not let them in that property, the building department. I will not let them in. I'm telling you that now. So what they did was they took me to court because I won't let them in the property. So she ruled in their favor, Mr. Butler, you have to let them in your property, okay? Now, the reason why their excuses, they're saying that the property is unsafe, okay? It's unsafe. There's a fire hazard in the property. The day that they said there was a fire hazard in the property, I let the fire department in, the fire marshal went in, the state fire marshal went in, I let them in. I will never stop a fire marshal from doing their job. They went in there, they inspected the whole property. But meanwhile, the building department is not satisfied with that answer, so they took me to court. I lost in court. Yet, here it is a year later. They're not in my property yet. Why? Because I appealed it to district court. So any municipal, that's why I say do not take no for an answer, right? So they said no, I'm not satisfied with that. So I appealed it to district court in Kent County. So still waiting to go to court. It's been over a year, and they have not been to my property until that judge in district court, who is impartial. District court judges used to be lawyers as well, but they're impartial. They have no connection to the city. They don't care whether the city wins or not, or whether I win or not. They look at it from the law point of view. Why do they have to get in? If the fire marshal only went in and did an inspection, why do they have to get in? So that's why, talking about the building inspector, just wanting to get in my building for no reason. The reason why I talk about them harassing me or stalking me is they have gone to every single one of my properties in Warwick over the last 6 months and done an inspection, external inspection, found things wrong in every single one of my properties. The facts are, I own less properties in Warwick than I do in any other city and town in the area, and I have no problems with those cities and towns. I apply for a permit, I get the permit. In fact, that takes me to my next story. You guys are killing me. So I do get advice from, make money is a good point. So my wife is an attorney, by the way, okay? She's been an attorney 17 years, okay? So I do ask her advice on stuff, and she gives me very good advice, though I do have a corporate attorney who's been my attorney for 25 years, and I still use Steve as my attorney. He's great. My wife, Carissa, will tell me, Jeff, you need to be a little bit more diplomatic. She understands the position I'm in, so she supports me there. Again, she sees that, in all the other cities and towns, I have no issues. I'm only having an issue in this city. It's interesting how it's going to play out. But yeah, she does give me good advice. Again, in my turn, when I am wrong, they will both tell me, Jeff, you're wrong. You are wrong. And you know what? When I'm wrong, I'll say, yeah, maybe let me step back. Let me think about this. What am I doing wrong? Just so you folks know, this has been going on for over a year in Warwick. If you notice, I really have never mentioned anything on TikTok. The series I have 12 videos I made Friday and yesterday that are going to be on TikTok of everything that took place in Warwick. The reason I didn't put it on TikTok is because I tried diplomacy first, meeting with him, talking to the mayor, meeting with the lawyer in Warwick. Tried diplomacy first. It didn't work. So that was advice of my lawyer and, of course, Carissa. But now they see that I've done everything I possibly can do with this guy. So you know what? Go ahead, Jeff, make your videos, post your videos. So I actually did post a video. So back in May, I posted a video. It was a 10-minute video on the City of Warwick Facebook page because I wanted just the citizens, taxpayers of Warwick to see what was going on. and it was very successful. I posted it. I had a lot of support, more support than I thought. I thought people would be on there, you're whining, blah, blah, blah. I only had one person, one stupid ass say, if you don't like it, move out of Warwick. I said, well, that's a great idea. That's great for economic development. Do as I say, and if not, screw. That was a great, great idea. That was one of the mayor's friends that made me that suggestion. Get out, yeah. Take your $200,000 in taxes and get the hell out. So that was real good advice. But anyway, so that the video did force a meeting between my lawyer and the city's lawyer. And yes, I did make some accomplishments there. We did get some progress. Since then, it's stalled, and that's why we're back here where we're at. So I don't want you to think, hey, Jeff's a crazy nut. He's just going on here complaining. No. It's been going on a year. It's been going on over a year, January last year, and I patiently waited, and now it's time for me to be on the offensive, especially this past week where I got more violations. And it's kind of funny that I just get so many violations from this guy. But I mean, the TikTok one is what really broke the camel's back. You know what I'm saying? So they're doing their research on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. Maybe they take turns watching my videos. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But it's just funny that's it's unbelievable. But anyway, I want to show you something, another story. So talk about, building inspectors, building plans, permits. So I applied for a permit in Coventry. So I have a 7-unit. If you guys remember, it was the house where I was cutting down the trees. It was the chainsaw. I was cutting down the trees around the gazebo. Anyway, we're starting to renovate that house. Well, that house needs a fire alarm system because it was never installed. 7-unit house. Apartment house. So it needs a fire alarm system, and one of the apartments needs a complete remodel. In the apartments, a 3-bedroom apartment needs a complete remodel. Now, it needs a remodel for a couple of reasons. One, it has been remodeled in 60 years, and 2, a pipe had broken, and it just needs to be repaired. So I applied for the fire alarm. I designed the plans for the fire alarm system. We applied for that a couple of weeks ago. Still waiting to get that. But we applied for the permit to remodel the apartment. Well, you know what happened on Friday? I got an email back from the inspector saying, listen, we can't approve the permit until we get a floor plan of the apartment. And, he's right. And I always do a floor plan. So it's not a hard thing. So, I'll show you. So these are my CAD drawings that I did of the apartment. This is the first floor of the apartment, okay? So if you notice right here, there's a bathroom right here. So this is what I submitted for my fire alarm plan. The only difference is I have all the devices in on the fire alarm plan for the fire alarm. So what the building inspector is asking for, which is more than reasonable, and I'll tell you why. He wants to know the layout, specifically of the kitchen, for plumbing, for electrical, because we have to pull the electrical permit and the plumbing permit. And they need to know the layout. So where the refrigerator is going to go, where the stove is going to go, where the sink's going to go, the cabinets. This is the layout. The rest of the apartment, all this is dining room and living room. They don't need to know where couches and furniture are going to go. But permanent fixtures, permanent installed materials, they need to know. So that's what happened. I went there yesterday during the day. I measured this out. I laid out my kitchen. So tonight what I'll do is after my live, I'll draw out my appliances, I'll draw everything, and I'll email this to the building inspector for his approval to get the permit approved. So that's what I do. And that's Coventry. And it's such a great relationship in the other cities and towns. Email me, hey Jeff, we need a diagram. No problem. I'm doing the diagram. No argument. I do it. Warwick, everything is an argument with this guy, everything. He wouldn't be satisfied with that diagram, wouldn't be satisfied with that, but that's how you do it. So I draw out the diagram, I'll upload it tonight, and hopefully tomorrow or Tuesday they'll issue the permit, and we can go on and we can finish the apartment and get that done and remodel the apartment. And again, what happens in this particular case, and I don't mind, they want to know what's going on in the buildings, who's doing the work, because you have to put on there who the contractor is, plumber, they want to know who's doing the work, make sure it's done right. And also, obviously, it does affect the value of the property for tax purposes for the cities and towns. That's how they make their money, through taxes. And economic development. A lot of the cities and towns, I talk about that all the time. You get some businesses coming in. That's really where the towns make their money, is from the businesses that coming in. You're not taking advantage of residential residents, taxpayers. I doubt it, Kathy. In fact, I actually, Kathy's saying I get cities and towns because they are not as knowledgeable. No, it's the other way around. I got to tell you something. Providence, the biggest city in Rhode Island, that building department with many building inspectors is not knowledgeable. Cranston, the second largest city in Rhode Island, very knowledgeable building inspectors. I own a 40-unit apartment house in Cranston, a 10-unit building in Cranston, a 12-unit, an 8-unit. Those building inspectors are very knowledgeable. What it is it's the other way around. When people are not knowledgeable, that's when they are bullies, and that's when they get on the defensive. And so, no, actually, I think you're wrong, Kathy. Make sure you show up to work on time in Warwick tomorrow. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. That's not the case. Then more knowledgeable. I'm sorry. The state law, building code is building code too. The problem is that they do have some discretion. Building inspectors have discretion. Like Al, when I apply for a permit, here's a good example, Kathy. Talking about knowledge. 3 weeks ago, I applied for a siding permit on one of my buildings in Warwick, and the building inspector wrote back that if you're going to do any demo work or any construction on the inside, you need to pull a permit, which I know that. But I wrote back to him a question. My question was, when we pull the siding off, if the wood is rotted underneath the siding, do you want me to add it to this permit or pull an additional permit, right? Because we don't know until we stop ripping the siding off. 3 weeks ago, I got zero response. I'm sure he has the knowledge, right, to answer the question. Talk about knowledgeable building. I'm sure he can answer the question, right? Or one of his minions could answer the question. Nothing. I got no response at all. So what happens in Rhode Island, they have this e-permitting portal where you message back and forth. It's great because everything is saved, archived, so everybody can see it. You can print it. You can get documentation later if you need it for court or liability or whatever it may be. Nothing. A week later, I sent another question. Hi, I asked a question about this. Do I need another permit? But nothing. I asked it for the third time last week. No response. Why do you think that is? Is he knowledgeable or is he just being a jerk? You tell me. You guys be the judge and jury on that one. 3 weeks, you can't ask her a question? Can't answer a question whether I need to pull a permit to replace wood or not? Now, typically what happens, and you know what? I learned my lesson after that, is I will put on the permit from now on, replace siding and replace any rotted wood as needed. Now I'm covered on the permit. So I will do that. But he still hasn't answered my question. But another building inspector suggested that that's how I handle it. So it's great that maybe I don't have a good relationship with that one, but somebody else, another town, suggested how I handle that in the future. And I appreciate that. And that's what a building inspector should do. They should make sure the job is done right, but they can give you advice without liability, saying, hey, why don't you just put this on the permit, replace the wood as needed, and go from there. Anybody could have done that, but anyway, it is what it is. I'll tell you, what a beautiful day today, huh? That's a beautiful day. That's half of my backyard. That's my side yard. That's a new house they just built recently last year. Beautiful house. Anyway. So the problem with it, good example right here, like this person, every permit is paying, the rules of each town. That is a problem. The problem that you have is that it's not the town have different rules. It's that the building inspectors can have some discretion. And that's a problem. And it can delay how long it takes you to get a permit. I think if anything, because we know how quick it is, it's all electronic now. You send it in, they look at what it is, they can respond. If somebody delays on purpose, like they do in Warwick, they just delay my permits on purpose. There's no reason to delay them. If they have all these knowledgeable people, like Kathy just said, right? They're very knowledgeable in Warwick. Well, then I should get the permit like that if they're so knowledgeable, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, good. So that's why, Kathy, sorry that you didn't realize that, But anyway, so here's a good example, Brian, in Warwick. So if you do work without a permit, now I just bought a house in Warwick where the previous owner did work without permits. So when I bought the house, there was some fines that the previous owner had to pay. So if you work without a permit, the fine's $250. That's what the fine is. Plus, the building department charges a $750 administrative fee. So the fine's really $1,000. But it's $250 for the town, $750 for the building department. I think, it's my opinion, I'm entitled to my opinion, the building inspector in Warwick, okay, I think what he does is he purposely tries to fine people for any reason whatsoever, even like with this electrical permit. I'll talk about that in a minute. Because now he can show the mayor, look at the money that we brought in fines, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we pissed off a lot of taxpayers. We drove out some businesses. Butler Waste just left with $1 million worth of assets. So you did lose, you lost $50,000 in tax revenue from Butler Waste. But look at the money we brought in from screwing the rest of the taxpayers on all these, erroneous fines. Didn't I do a good job, Mr. Mayor? So that's the problem that you have there. And I think that is part of the problem with the fines there. So here's a good example. How many people grant the building permits in Warwick? So there are, in Warwick, I think there are 5, building inspectors, of a plumbing inspector, an electrical inspector. But Al DeCourt is the building inspector. He's the only one that signs. So for instance, on Thursday, well actually on Friday I got this violation. Signed by him. Now what's this violation? Oh, this is the violation. This is funny. This is the violation saying that I'm running a trash business out of one of my buildings because I have a bunch of dumpsters there. But in fact, what they did is, of course, now I'm going to one of my TikToks. He called the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, filed a complaint with them that I'm running a trash business out of one of my buildings. Wasted their time. They went over there. Brian actually met him over there. One of my other guys met him over there. Rhode Island DEM has no jurisdiction. They have no jurisdiction over empty trash cans. In which you are allowed to store metal containers in your yard. You're allowed to store metal trash cans in your yard. Who's to say how many you can store in your yard, right? So that's where we have a problem. I am storing a bunch of trash cans in this property, right? But it's not illegal. DEM went there. So anyway, so Al DeCourt, he's the building inspector, the stalker. He signed that letter. That's for one of my properties, right? Another property I have is the one where they want to get in to do the inspection. I won't let them in. So that's another property. This property, third property, this is the one where, this is the one with the TikTok. Yeah, I did the lighting TikTok video, right? So that's also signed by him. Also, what's very interesting is this, and I didn't realize this, but even my electrical permit that they say I didn't have on Friday that I have in my hand, this one here, the fake electrical permit, even that one is signed by him too. See, Al DeCourt, he's the building inspector in Warwick. So he signs everything in Warwick, I guess. So he signed the permit that he says I don't have. That's why, that's going to be interesting when we go to court on that one. That's going to be interesting because he signed the permit that I don't have. But anyway, so that's to answer that question. So the mayor in Warwick, so anybody from Warwick is watching, I need to say this. The mayor in Warwick, Frank because he's a really, really nice guy. That's it, though. He's a nice guy. Since he's taken office, yeah, he's a nice guy. He's friendly, he's nice, he talks to people, but he's definitely not a leader or a manager. And the problem that I have is this, and the reason why I say that is this. He ran with the premise, I'm going to change everything in Warwick. We're going to clean house. We're going to change everything. All new, all new, all new. No, didn't happen. Kept the same building inspector, kept the same planning director, kept all the same people in place. So what's new? And he's such a nice guy, and because he's a new mayor, brand new mayor, doesn't know politics, doesn't know the inner workings of the city. So what does he do? He relies on the people. That's how these people get more and more power. That's how the building inspector gets more power. Because the mayor relies on the building inspector. Hey, how do I do this? What do I do here? How do you handle this? So you're asking that. So really, who's running the city? The building inspector. Why? Because the mayor left him in place. The mayor should always bring, just like the president, just like a governor, bring in your own administration so you are in control, you are in charge. So that's where I personally think that's where the mayor made his mistake. Because he didn't bring his own people in. Now, I keep saying this publicly. I don't live in Warwick, but I pay $200,000 a year in taxes. Minimum $200,000 in taxes in Warwick. And whoever runs for mayor next, if you want my vote and you want me to advocate for you with my followers on Facebook or TikTok, local followers, my people, colleagues I do business with, my tenants who I will advocate to, if you want my support, then you need to clean house and really clean house. And I'm not saying put my friend in. I'm saying put somebody in there who's fair and impartial and will do the job and do the job right. And part of that is economic development. I really don't like the fact that this city, they all talk about economic development. They talk about how many people live there and how many people pass through on 95. I don't want to hear that shit. Talk about the businesses you're bringing in, how you're going to bring in money to the city to offset the taxes for the residents that live there, and you're not going to, put the burden all on the businesses. That's what I want to hear a mayor say. And this mayor has not done that. In fact, I think that's one of the reasons why the building department's all over my ass and all over other people's ass is because they got nothing to do. There's no building going on. There's minimal building going on. So, they have to justify their job. And the mayor doesn't have them out, doing economic development or have the economic development person bring in business. So the building department, people like this twiddling their thumbs. So I was like, hey, go bother Jeff Butler. Go find somebody else that's, doing something wrong. Let's, we got to show the mayor we're doing something. Go give out fines. Go give out fines. So that is my opinion. But if you look at it, I think it's more truth to that than we all want to admit, you know. So that, that's the story. That's the story with that. It's unfortunate. It's true. All you have to do to make money is so where Mayor Picozzi won the election is, like I told you, he's a nice guy. Every year he decorates his house unbelievable for Christmas. I mean, I went there too and looked at his house. He goes on the list. So every year, one of the TV stations, Channel 12, I think the Providence Journal does it, they post addresses of people that decorate their houses for Christmas. So you can drive by and look at the lights. Well, Mayor Picozzi, Frank Picozzi, is one of those people that decorates his house for Christmas every year. So when he ran for mayor, people knew him as the guy who decorates his house for Christmas every year. Okay, but he's not the guy who's running the city with an iron fist and telling them this is what we need to do to grow this city, to get this, get things done. He did, I guess, from what I understand, a few months after he became mayor and realized there were a few problems in the town, he did hire an outside law firm to help solve some of these problems. And that's who contacted my attorney when I posted the video on Facebook back in May or June, was the outside law firm, and say, hey, what's your client doing here? What's going on? And my attorney started meeting with them, and we did make some progress on a couple of the issues, which, let me put it this way, on those issues, I didn't even mention those on my TikTok series that I'm posting. So the TikTok series I made it's every single problem I've had with this guy over the years, and I did a story time on each one so you guys can see how ridiculous it is. I'm going to give you an example. People ask me, where did your relationship go bad? I did talk about this on my TikTok, but I'll tell you guys. He was the building inspector in Smithfield, and I built a building in 2006. We got along fine. We got along fine in Smithfield in 2006. We really did. He then left there, went to work in private industry. He retired from Smithfield, went to work in private industry for a couple of years, disappeared from public building official duties. And all of a sudden, in 2009, he popped up, I think it was 2009, in West Warwick, where I was renovating a piece of property. And all of a sudden, I got a bunch of violations in the mail signed by him, okay, for one of my properties in West Warwick, a 6-unit building that I'm renovating, or I was renovating. And I got this big list of violations. I set up a meeting with him, and we went to a meeting. I went there with Dwayne, who still works for me. Dwayne went to the meeting with me because Dwayne was the one doing all the work in the building, on that building. So we sat in the conference room in West Warwick Town Hall on the second floor. I remember it vividly. Dwayne does too. And he was there, Al was there, and he said to me, you've done all kinds of work without any permits. You have no electrical permits, no plumbing permits. We have nothing in our file. Now, I will give West Warwick credit. They had just become one of the first towns in Rhode Island to do everything electronically. So he put up the computer. Look, there's nothing in the computer. There's nothing here. You've done nothing. He's getting in my face. So Dwayne then said, well, I have this folder. And Dwayne opened up this folder because prior to the electronic, everything was paper, right? So whenever they did an inspection, they would sign, it was like a carbon copy. They'd do an inspection, they'd give you a copy, they'd take a copy. Dwayne had a carbon copy approval for every single thing we did in that building. It was probably 26 approvals that we did from the various apartments, plumbing, electrical inspection, building inspection, and had it right there. And it almost pissed off Al so bad that we had it and that Dwayne was so organized. That's when our relationship went down. Now, he was only in West Warwick a very short time because the opening opened up in Warwick, and I don't know if he was asked to leave West Warwick or if Warwick, recruited him. I don't know. All I know is he left West Warwick, thank God, and went to Warwick. West Warwick has been wonderful since. I mean, I've had a great relationship with West Warwick, and they know it. West Warwick Fire, they know, the building inspector know. I go in there, I buy a piece of property, I invite them in. Come take a walk through my property, tell me what it needs. That's the relationship I have in West Warwick. And Al's not going to ruin that relationship. It's a great relationship. West Warwick Fire, electrical inspector, plumbing, they can come in any of my properties anytime I want, do an inspection, tell me what I need to do. And that is the relationship I have in West Warwick, Coventry, Cranston, okay? And it's too bad that Warwick is the only one. He's the only one. So, the proof is in the pudding, okay? And I own a lot more property in West Warwick than I do in Warwick. And I own a lot more property in Cranston. And now I've expanded to Coventry, like I showed you that floor plan I'm doing in Coventry. So that just shows you an example of, so does this guy do this to other business owners? Yes. So here's the issue with that. Like, I have two friends of mine, two colleagues that build in Warwick. The problem is this, okay? What does a bully do? Okay, a bully bullies people.
how often, and we hear about this in the news, do bullies report the bullying, right? Bullies come in all shapes and sizes. How often do they report the bullying? Also, the reason why they don't report the bullying is because they don't want more bullying, more retaliation. For me, I don't care. I'm outspoken. What's he going to do? What's he going to do to me, right? He's already doing it. He's already sending me my violations, my fines, taking me to court and this and that. But what I do is I take away his power. He can send me all the violations he wants. I gladly will go to municipal court in Warwick, and if that judge hasn't learned yet, which I probably think she has, that there are two sides to a story, then I just appeal it and go to district court. So that's where you take away the power from the bully. When I take it out of Warwick and I take it to district court, Warwick's judge loses power, and the building inspector and the building department loses power. It's all now on the district court judge, and I like that. I give them a lot of credibility. I like the district court in Rhode Island. Very fair court. So that's why, to answer your question, does anybody else report it? I'm sure some people have had problems. Well, I know. Like I said, I have two friends of mine that have had problems. So we know people have problems. But do they report it? Are they afraid to report it? I think there is a way of reporting it where they can be anonymous. You get a group of people together, you hire an attorney, and through client-attorney privilege, the attorney can file the complaints. For 10 or 12 or 15 plaintiffs, I think that is the best way of reporting it. That way, people are protected because they will retaliate. Look what he's doing to me. They'll retaliate, and so that's the story with that. The problem with him is he thinks he's untouchable. The answer to the untouchable question, rightfully so, he thinks he's untouchable. Nobody's saying to him. The mayor hasn't said anything to him. The mayor doesn't, reprimand him. The mayor wouldn't bring in a new building inspector. So, I got to tell you a story. So this is history repeating itself. Anybody who's in Warwick who might remember this, 15 years ago, there was a building inspector in Warwick, same thing, bully, tyrant. I never really had that many dealings with him, negative to me, but he was a bully and a tyrant. And what happened was, in fact, he was a former building inspector in Providence. They brought him to Warwick. He was such a problem in Warwick, but he was the licensed building inspector, that the mayor of Warwick at the time, actually it was Scott Avedisian, Mayor Avedisian, I think at the time, brought in another person to actually be the head building inspector to take over the department. They still left that other guy in, his name was John. They still left him in the position of inspecting plans and stuff like that. Because he was such a bad people person and such a bully and such a tyrant and unfair, they actually spent money, taxpayer money, and brought in a third person who, by the way, that third person they brought in, it was a breath of fresh air. He was great. They brought him in, I'm trying to remember his name. It'll come to me. They brought him in, what a breath of fresh air. Because you know why? He was a diplomat. He used diplomacy. He met with people, he was a problem solver. And that's the thing about building inspectors. They really need to be problem solvers, not problem makers. And I think that's the problem here. But anyway, it will come to me. It will come to me when they brought it. But I'm sure people remember that. When Warwick actually brought in another person, just to put him in charge, spent the money. But it was a huge, huge, great idea that Mayor Avedisian did that. So anyway, so anytime I say something, it is my opinion. I'm offering my opinion. There are two sides to every story. That's why if he has a TikTok and he wants to tell his side of the story, let him, okay? God bless him. I'd love to hear his side of the story. That's why, like the guy this morning said, I got mental issues. No, I waited a year for this. And now, you know what? I'm using my platform. I am using my platform. And this is not the only platform. I'm using my YouTube. And this week, I'm going to be putting the Facebook videos were what really made a lot of, got me some progress last year. And I plan on doing that as well. So I might as well. So let's see. So early on, so back last February, a year ago February, I did meet with the mayor. And that's when I realized that he's a nice guy, very nice guy. I had never met him before, but he's a little weak. And that's when I realized that he wasn't going to change building inspectors. He wasn't going to even tell the building inspector, be fair, treat this guy fair. He wasn't going to say a word, and that's why. So I met with him. He was a nice guy. But so here's another example. Here's another issue for the people in Warwick that are watching me.
when the mayor became the mayor, there was some issues in Warwick where the ice rink, no, not the ice rink, the pool, they have a municipal swimming pool. The municipal swimming pool needed some repairs done. And the city didn't have the money to make the repairs. I think it was like $40,000. You know, I'm a business owner. I would love to sponsor something, put my signs up at different places in Warwick. I might donate the money, have the conversation. Instead, no, treat me like shit. Okay, treat me like shit. Now, the reason I bring that up is because the other day, Butler Waste has been treated like shit in the city of Warwick by the building inspector. I sold a building back in December just before, 2 days before the tax bills went out, which is beautiful because they lost a ton of revenue. The building inspector drove me out of that building. Well, he didn't drive me out of that building. You know what? Why am I going to be somewhere where they don't want me, right? So I had an opportunity to sell the building. I did, so I moved out of the building, but I did it in a way that the city of Warwick is not getting the tax revenues for 2021 because I moved out in the nick of time. Anyway, so again, economic development, right? Because if I stayed there, they would have gotten money from me. So now Butler Waste is gone. The other day, I get a letter from the municipal ice rink. They're selling sponsorships where you can buy signs along the boards around the rink. And they send Butler Waste an invitation to buy a sign. So what do? I'm a human being. Do I buy the sign after they treated me like shit? Now, the ice rink people, the recreation department didn't do anything to me. They're just trying to pay their bills. They're trying to survive, okay? But that's where another department of the city treated me like shit. And now they, as far as I'm concerned, they hurt in the ice rink because in Cranston, I did buy those signs. In Cranston, I bought those signs in Cranston, okay, around the beautiful, beautiful Cranston West football field. So I did buy those signs for my ice cream shop and for Butler Waste. And I would love to do it in Warwick. I would love to do it. But in good conscience, how can I when the city is treating me like this and the mayor is allowing the building inspector to treat me like this? And I would love to. I'd love to sponsor a team. Well, so that's what I'm going to end up doing. Rather than giving the money to the city to disperse, why would I do that? I will sponsor individual teams and organizations. That way I'm still donating, I'm still sponsoring, and I have a decision. I have a right to say where my money goes to. But there's a good example, a natural consequence. Why am I going to go and donate when I'm getting screwed by them, you know? So that's a good example. So that's exactly right. So I'm going to skip that sponsorship. But if a team needed shirts or jackets or something like that, and they wanted my name on it, sponsor it, absolutely, I have no problem with that. I love to support sports teams, and because it's good for PR, it's good for for advertising. If they go to the ice cream shop, I give them a discount when they go after a game and stuff like that. So absolutely, but there is a good example of where one department in the city hurt another department. There's the perfect example. I couldn't explain it even better than that, So it's too bad. But, when the mayor was looking for money to fix the pool, hey, companies and corporations and businesses, who would like to get involved with the city? I'd love to be involved. See, I grew up in the city. I went to high school in Warwick. I was a president of the city council. The student council. When I went to Warwick Vets, when I was a senior, I was the president of the student council. So I liked Warwick. I enjoyed my high school years. And this is the thanks I get, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it is what it's reality. It's reality, Yeah, I know. Friars are playing in Buffalo March Madness. You're right. You're right. I gotta tell you, make money. You are up in your sports. Make money is one of my best followers. We become friends over TikTok, and I gotta tell you something. He is on top of the sports, and he makes money. So let's see. I'm trying to see if I missed any questions here. They've been going by, and I'm babbling, So coming to CBS this fall. Yeah, you never know. Well, what's interesting? Here's what's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine today who's friends with Judge Caprio in Providence. Now, I've never met Judge Caprio, but everyone knows who he is, caught in Providence. He has the show on TV and very popular now. And, the friend of mine was telling me that I guess Judge Caprio's show is syndicated all over the world because I guess in China, the show's in Chinese, or it might have been Japanese. And anyway, so this person sent them an advertisement where I guess he's famous. They call him Uncle Judge or Papa Judge or something. Well, anyway, make a long story short. He's the municipal judge in Providence. So I was talking about a municipal judge in Warwick. Well, in Warwick, every time the administration changes, what do? They bring in a different judge. Why? I don't know. Judge Caprio's been there how long? He does a great job. He's fair. He's great. Look at the personality. That's what you want to see. That's why he's so popular. Yeah, is he friendly? Yeah, but he's also fair. If you really listen to him and you watch Judge Caprio, when he rules on something, he's fair. When he talks about somebody going through a red light or whatever it may be, parking, he is very, very, very fair. And that's what you want in a judge. So that's why, I said, why did Warwick change judges? Maybe Judge Gerstenblatt, maybe he retired. I don't know the guy. I don't know anything about him. But they got this new judge in Warwick now. And I don't know why they changed. Judges are fair for the most part. And, of course, you've got some ignorant judges like, Van Coogan. That's a whole other story. But that's one out of how many? I've been in front of probably 30 judges in my whole life. And I should say that. But 30 judges, 29 of them great. Judge Van Coogan, unfortunately, not so great. But all the other ones, fair, impartial, rule. And I haven't won every time, by the way. When I lose, when you go to court and you lose in front of a judge, yeah, you get a little disappointed. But if you leave there saying, you know what, he was fair, and the law is the law, what are you going to do, I've been frustrated before. Most of the time when I lose, it's more like when I go with a tenant and there's a flaw in the paperwork and the judge will be like, this paperwork's flawed, you need to redo the paperwork, resubmit it. Then I go back and I'm fine. So that most of the time, that's what it's always been. I've never lost or I'm going to jail, I did something wrong. It's always like a tenant-landlord thing. And it's not really a loss, it's a delay because of a problem. Or the judge will give the tenant, here's a good example. I have a tenant that I'm evicting. And I want him out of my building, okay? I want this guy out of my building. In my opinion, he might be doing drug deals. I want him out of my building. So what happened was, went to court a couple weeks ago, and he said to the judge, well, Judge, I don't have a lawyer. I'd like time to get a lawyer. And the judge said, okay, we'll give you 3 weeks to get a lawyer. So the guy gets to stay in my building for 3 more weeks for free because he's not paying his rent to get a lawyer. I can't get mad at the judge for that. The guy has a right to get a lawyer. The judge is doing his job. So there's a good example of where, did I lose? Yeah, I lost 3 weeks, but the judge did his job. So I have no problem with that. So anyway, so I like Judge Caprio because he's very fair. Hey, Jethro Scott, how you doing? Evening, how are you? Cranston, Rhode Island has awesome people. I got to tell you something. Cranston has really welcomed me as an investor with open arms. They've been really fair with me. Great city for many years. Cranston has so many positive things going for it. First of all, Cranston Recreation. What a great program. The Cranston Recreation program is outstanding. Both my kids went through it. They've aged out of it now, but they went through the Cranston Recreation program during the summers because my wife and I both work, right? So they went to Cranston Rec. Great activities. The school department's great. The facilities are great. Where I live in Western Cranston, the soccer fields. If anybody, by the way, from Cranston, you've been to the soccer fields up on Hope Road. I live right behind the soccer fields. In the summer, I can hear them playing soccer. And baseball. The baseball fields are there too. The Cranston West Little League. So that's why Cranston just has great programs. Now Warwick had great programs. It just seems to me that they're just struggling a little bit. And I think they're struggling, A, because of financial reasons, and also leadership. And it's just too bad because it doesn't have to be that way. That's a city that I grew up and loved, right? So that's my business is there. My office is there. I run 4 businesses out of my office in Warwick. Though one is moving and another one may be moving, and I'm going to slowly now migrate, I guess, because I would have to. But again, you know what? No, same thing too. There's always a bad apple that ruins it, right? We always see that. There's always a bad apple in the bunch, right? So to be fair to that building inspector in Warwick, if I want to be fair, not to him, but to be fair to his staff, they got to work for the guy. If he's telling them what to do, they're doing their job. Though, if their job is unethical and immoral, they should have the right to say, I don't want to do this. But I don't know, it seems to me, especially the electrical inspector, he's up his ass. What are you going to do? But I just think that, got to be fair. Got to be, and so these people have their, look, if these people are happy at the end of the day, the minions are happy to go home to their family. Yep, I had a great day today. I busted Jeff Butler's balls for Al. If that is what satisfies them, their little minds, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? If that's what made them feel like they had a great, successful day. What I will tell you is this. These videos will last forever. These will be on the internet forever. So if these people's children and grandchildren go on the internet and Google their names, this is what they will see. This is what their children will see. My children will see it. They'll see that I stood up for my rights. And that's what my children and grandchildren will see, someday. But that's what they're showing me. If that's what they want, if that's what they want their legacy to be, there's nothing I can do about it. Or to see that, how that's how their grandparents acted or whatever it may be. So that's how I feel about it. Yeah, the important thing is to make buildings safe. So everything we do is by the book, by the code. I want the places to be safe. I've talked about this before. I put fire alarm systems in even when I didn't need to, because I want my places to be safe. In Warwick, so what happened was with that building in Warwick that they've been wanting to get into for a year to do their inspection because of fire safety, when the state fire marshal went through the building, okay, it's an 8-unit building. When they went through all the 8 units, they found one device that they felt should be moved to another room. So it's an electrical fire alarm device. So in order to move that, you have to apply for a permit. So I applied for the permit with the city of Warwick. Well, the building department will not, to this day, give me that permit because I will not let them do their inspection of the building. Why should that matter? If the building is not safe, according to them, and the state fire marshal says, hey, we want this device moved, if it really is a safety issue, now that's why now I think that judge in Warwick would have a completely different understanding of the facts now, because it's been a year, and the building inspector will not give me my electrical permit to move this device. Now, what I did was, because I am concerned, right, and I wanted to satisfy the state fire marshal, I don't want to have a problem with him, I put in a battery-operated smoke CO detector in that place. So I actually have 2 now. I have the original one that they wanted moved. It's still there and working. And I added a battery-operated one, which you don't need a permit for, obviously, in the other area. So even though the city is not issuing my permit to move the device, I still made the building safer by adding in the battery-operated device. But the only concern I have is that why didn't the state fire marshal force the city to give me the permit to move that device? That's a little odd to me. It's all about safety, right? But I put the battery-operated device in, so it's safe. But that's a little odd. Maybe it's a professional courtesy they didn't do it. I don't know. But I got the battery-operated device in there. And again, the city has not done the walkthrough in that building. Now, here's my issue with the reason why I'm not letting them in the building. It is just for them to come in and go on a fishing expedition and look for other things wrong. What I am willing to do is I applied for permits to remodel some apartments in that building. Per the state code, they issue me the permits. I start the work. I have to call for inspections. So that's the way the state code is written. I get a permit. I then call for an inspection at certain points. I do the rough, the framing. The framing's done, come in and do an inspection. The insulation's done, come do an inspection. Rough electrical's done, come do an inspection. So that's how the state code is. I follow that state code. What they want to do is circumvent the code and come in before I even start doing the work so they can tell me what's wrong and what they want. Well, you know what? That's not the code. That's why I won't let them in. Okay? That's why I won't let them, just to answer your question. So, believe it or not, I think it has become a civil matter. So here's the problem. There is one issue that took place that I can't talk about, unfortunately, yet. By the end of the week, I can. And yes, it has become a civil matter. And yes, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And yes, it would be a big enough issue where Channel 10, 12, and 6, the local TV stations, would pick up this new story. Yeah, I can't talk about it because of confidentiality, but it's coming. It's coming. And that's why I kind of started talking about the stuff now, because I'm talking about the stuff I can talk about. And I want to bring it to light, Let's see. Oh, thank you, user 565973093. They love my content. I appreciate that. Watching from Chicago. I love Chicago. I love Chicago. I love to go in Chicago. I love doing. Actually, we're doing a conference. My audiovisual company is going to be in Chicago in a couple of weeks. Actually, right on the Magnificent Mile. What the heck is the hotel? So Chicago is a union city, which watching from Chicago probably realizes. Chicago is a major union city. Anytime we do audiovisual in Chicago, 9 out of 10 times we hire a union to work with us in Chicago. There's one hotel in downtown Chicago. I can't think of it. That is non-union, because I'm not really involved with the audiovisual as much now. I have people running it. It's non-union there, and and we're doing a big conference there next week, actually. So, be careful of retaliation. People can be mean. Well, that's exactly what he's going to try to retaliate. What are you going to do? What do you do? I think it's more difficult for him to retaliate now that I've called him out to 200 1,000 people on TikTok and onto the 10,000 people on Facebook and Warwick. It's going to be harder for him to retaliate now. But at this point, we've crossed that bridge. In other words, what's he going to do? Enough is enough at this point. I'd rather just get it out there, get it out in the open, and put it out there. So one thing about me is I am outspoken. I will say it how it is. Does it get me in trouble? Maybe sometimes it does, but I'd much rather say my piece, say how I feel, get out there, so nobody can say that, Jeff was a coward, Jeff hid, Jeff. No, I want to see it. I will say it how I feel. I will give my opinion, okay? And I will do that. If he retaliates or something comes from it, it's fine. At least I know that I can sleep at night knowing I did the right thing. I stood up for myself. If the other people that he bullies don't want to stand up for themselves, and they're going to live with themselves for that. They're going to live with that. I know a lot of people, I got to do business in that town. I got to do business. Fine, do business in that town. Fine, do business in that. Be a coward, do business in that town. I'm not a coward. I stand up to bullies. So it is what it is. But I think people will. What's that? Yeah. Oh, the Inspector Duncan Donuts Center. Yeah, I guess they need a new roof over at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, right? It was leaking a couple weeks ago, the roof over there. Let's see. Oh, the Hyatt. The Hyatt. I know the Hyatt at O'Hare Airport is non-union. No, it's a fancy name. Shoot. It'll come to me. But no, it's not the Drake. It's something like that, though. But it's, I wonder if it's on my calendar. See, now you got me curious now, too. Now you got me curious. Let's see. Let's see if I can see it on here. No. Oh, I guess we're doing a show in Florida, too. See, we have a thing called show calendar where we share all the dates so I can see what's going on. Shoot. It will come to me, though. It will pop into me. It will pop into my mind. It's right on the Magnificent Mile, and it's non-union, and we've done a few shows there. But anyway, and by the way, being union's not an issue. It's just very expensive. We like you working with the union audiovisual people because we have to hire people anyway. So if I want to hire people, I'd rather hire professional. The unions are professional, especially the audiovisual union, because it's technical. They know what they're doing. So I just happen to mention this is non-union because it's a non-union hotel. I can't find it. It's not here. It'll come to me, and I'll mention it, though. It'll come to me. I know it was one that, yeah, so it'll come to me. Let's see. Anyway, so getting back to what we were talking about, I guess was so at least everybody sees both sides of the story in Warwick, or they will see both sides of the story, and it's going to come to a head this week because of that other matter, which is still ongoing, but I'm going to stop posting the other series of videos I did, all just different things. I'll give you a little bit of a preview. I'll give you a preview, a little taste, okay? And you'll see how ridiculous some of these things are. So I moved out of my other building, which I still own in Warwick, where I'm opening the new ice cream shop. I moved out of there in 2018, my offices. About 2015, I start getting notices of violations. Now, the way they do the violations in Warwick, by the way, they send me a regular copy by mail. They send me a certified copy. And then what they do is at that building, it's a 5-unit building, they post them in all the doors of the building because they try to intimidate the tenants. They really show how wonderful they are. Al just shows what a really nice guy he is. So what he does, he posts them all on, to get all the tenants nervous and everything else. I have such a good relationship with my tenants. They understand. I get the notices. I deal with it. They know I deal with it. My lawyer's great. He deals with it. Now, this particular story, and I did a story time on it, but I will tell you the story tonight, right now. They accuse me. It's a single-story building, by the way, on Elmwood Avenue in Warwick. 2121 Elmwood Avenue, if you want to look it up. I have nothing to hide. It's a single-story building. The violation was they want to inspect because they were informed by Anonymous, Mr. Anonymous. I got to tell you something. Anonymous hates me in Warwick. I got to blame Anonymous for all this stuff because other than Other than TikTok, right? They got one violation from TikTok. All the other complaints come from Anonymous. So anyway, so Mr. Anonymous called and complained that I have a third floor illegal apartment in the building, in a one-story building. I have a third floor. So I skipped the floor and I built the third floor illegal apartment. So obviously, I'm just throwing those in the basket because it's a joke, right? It's a joke. It's ridiculous. This is the stuff I can't make it up. This is the shit I'm dealing with, okay? One of the videos I did not do is about the mysterious missing files. I will do a whole TikTok of mysterious missing files. But let's get back to the third floor illegal apartment. So I'm throwing away the notices. So I get my first notice of violation, right? That goes on for a few months. Now, meanwhile, during those few months, I had somebody move into the building to open up a illegal grow, and also I had a salon opening up in the building. Now, they had to get permits to do some of the work in their facilities, and they applied for the permits. Well, the building inspector refused to give them the permits because I wouldn't let him in to look at the third floor illegal apartment in the building. I refused to let him look in. Now, same old shit. Because I wouldn't let him in, all of a sudden, well, the building's unsafe. You need to have the fire marshal come in. So this building inspector, Al, he did it in West Warwick too, but the fire department smartened up. And in Warwick, too. In fact, true story. At that time, the fire marshal in Warwick called my lawyer and said, we do not want to have a problem with Mr. Butler. We get along with him very well. We've had a good relationship. The building department is putting pressure on us to do an inspection. Can we come in? My lawyer called up, Jeff, the fire marshal came in, called up. He doesn't want to have a problem with the building inspector and with you, and he doesn't want to, will you let him in? I said, absolutely, have him come right over. And they did. They come over, did an inspection, I passed with flying colors. So I, again, took the power away from the bully. That's one of my TikTok stories. I took the power away from Al, the bully. So now there was no reason for him to come in the building. But he would not issue the permits to those two tenants. So I told the tenants, continue opening. Go ahead, continue opening. Get your business open. You're not doing anything wrong. So now I get the second notice violation. Same thing. I get certified copies. I get regular mail copies. My tenants get copies on their doors, so we take them. Same thing. They want to get in for the third floor illegal apartment. It's Al and his minions want to get in there. So I won't let them in. So this is history repeating itself. So finally I get the third notice of violation. They're going to take me to court. Take me to court. So they took me to court. Went to court with my lawyer, municipal court in Warwick. And the building inspector's argument is, Mr. Butler's working without permits in the building, and he won't let us do an inspection of the third floor illegal apartment. So my lawyer said at that time to the judge, Your Honor, these businesses are trying to open it. They're working without permits because the building department will not give them the permits they applied for. The judge said to the prosecutor, is that true? Yeah, we're not issuing the permits. The judge says, give them their permits. Why are you holding their permits? So they got forced to give the permits for them to open their businesses. Okay, they got forced to give their permits. So then my lawyer said, okay, they got to tell the judge why they want to go in my building to look for a third floor apartment. So the judge said, okay, you have permission to go into that building to look for a third floor illegal apartment, nothing else. Because they just want to go in on a fishing expedition to look for anything else they could just jam me up on, because that's his MO. Same thing with the new building, the problem I'm having right now. So that's why I don't let him in, because he's on a fishing expedition, and that's the problem. And I guess what happens is because I won't let him in, he gets more obsessed with me, and of course, I'm living my life. You see, I'm not mad. I just go on. I buy other properties in other cities. I'm doing my thing. I'm building my business. I'm building my brand. I'm adding to Butler Waste. I'm growing my business. I'm not letting him get to me. Okay, obviously I'm getting to him, because if I wasn't, he wouldn't be bombarding me with letters and complaints and allegations and all this stuff every single day. But anyway, so that's one of the TikToks is that story where the judge ordered them to give the permits for my businesses to open in my building, my tenants, and also they could only go and look for the third floor illegal apartment. Oh, by the way, there was no third floor illegal apartment. Okay, just see it out. So that's what happened there. Now, I feel bad. Well, I kind of feel bad because, see, the minion at that time, Al's minion at that time, she, I'm not going to say her name. You'll know why in a second. She was doing her job. Al sent her in to look for the third floor illegal apartment that didn't exist. She's the one who had to go to court and get embarrassed in front of the judge, okay? The reason I'm not going to say her name is because she now works in another city in Rhode Island that we work with, and we have a good relationship with her. She moved from Warwick to Cranston, I guess for obvious reasons, right? Working for that guy. She's now in Cranston, but she's very good. And the reason why we have a good relationship is I like the fact, and again, Cranston, Coventry, West Warwick, when we buy a property, I buy distressed properties. I love the relationship where the minimum housing people, the building inspector, will call us up. Hey, you bought that property on such and so road. The grass is overgrown. Before we send a letter, can you come cut the grass? Or whatever it might be. The door is smashed in. Can you replace the door? That's the relationship I want to have. They know what properties I own. They call Andrew. They have Andrew's cell phone number. Andrew has their cell phone number. West Warwick's a great example where that minimum housing, he'll be driving down the road, minimum housing inspector, hey, somebody threw a mattress in your front yard. Andrew's like, I'll send somebody right over there, and we do. And we get rid of it in an hour. And that's the relationship I love to have. I appreciate that relationship. I really do. And I have a lot of respect, so much respect for those people because they're going above and beyond. They don't have to call us up. They can just send us a letter, but they're doing it. But you know what's nice about that? We solve the problem quicker. By the time they go back, type up the letter, mail us the letter, 2 weeks goes by, the mattress sits there, it's a mess, it's sloppy, the neighbors. By calling us, they know we get rid of it that day. So doesn't that help the neighbors? Doesn't that help the relationship with everyone? So that I have so much respect for those building departments. And see, minimum housing works in the building department. That's why I say the building departments. So I have so much respect for them, and I don't have that relationship in Warwick, and it's too bad. And it's such an easy relationship to have. But you know what? Somebody has to give. Somebody has to give and compromise. We would take the calls. I will gladly work with any of them. You know what I'm saying? But again, so that's what happened. So she went to Cranston. She's very good in Cranston now. She works with Andrew more than she does with me because Andrew's the property manager. So she'll call Andrew. We had this complaint. We had this. Or, there's this problem, Andrew. Can you fix it? And again, because I buy distressed properties, we're going to get more of those calls. I understand that. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Yeah, I'm riding his head for free. Yeah, he should do a TikTok on that. I'm riding an owl's head for free. What's that thing in your head, right? That's funny. You're right. No kidding. You might be right. Brian Bouthelet says, I'm not respecting his authority. That's a very good point. And you know what happens with that? It's almost like, use a teacher as an example. Maybe it's a bad example, but, you earn respect. So if you're an authority, good example is police. I respect the police. They're an authority figure. I respect them. They've earned my respect through the years. I've never had a bad relationship or a bad run-in with a police officer, though we understand there's a bad apple here and there. For the most part, I have a great relationship with the police. So you earn respect, okay? This guy has not earned my respect. So you're right, I'm not respecting his authority, but here's a guy who 10 years ago in West Warwick took me in and said, you don't have any permits for anything. And we opened up a folder and showed him that we had permits for everything. So he lost that respect or didn't earn that respect. And even now, the third floor apartment, how do you respect somebody's accusing you of it? You look at the building and say one-story building. Okay, you can look on Google Earth, Google Maps. You can drive by it. So how do you respect somebody's authority? So I understand what you're saying because you're right. You want to respect authority, and if we ever get past all these problems, he is the building inspector. I would have to respect his authority. He can still earn my respect, but let's get past the bullshit, right? So I mean, I do understand what you're saying. People need to respect authority, and I do. I have a lot of respect for authority. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at with the amount of properties and the businesses if all I did was fight everybody every step of the way. I only talk about issues I've had to give information to people so they don't have the same problems I had. I don't talk about the smooth things. Well, I did talk about the credit card processing, but everything, all the good stuff, right? That's not that it's boring, but there's no problem with that. You did whatever. It's just that wherever I have a problem, I like to share the information so people do not have the same problems that I have. But no, I do believe that I do respect authority. It's important. It's important. And if I had the same problem in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 towns, then I would say you're probably right. Maybe I got an issue with authority. But no, I think it's important that people understand that he has not earned the respect, or he lost the respect with some of these issues that we've had. But you're right. I mean, Brian, that is, in some cases, could be a problem when you don't respect authority, then you do have issues. But I understand what you're saying, Well, that's exactly right. Respect is earned, and that was my whole point. So here's what everything for me is business, The reason I say that is that I will do business with my worst enemy. I've had people that I didn't get along with in the audiovisual business, in the past,
we still do business together because business is business. If we have an opportunity to work together and build a bridge and mend a bridge and work, same thing there. Yeah, is he and I having a problem for the last, it's been going on 10 years, and that's why it's come to a head now. It's finally come to a head. You know, I look at it this way. I'm going to be in Warwick owning property longer than he's going to be the building inspector of Warwick. Chances are that's going to be, whether I'm 90 years old or whatever, he's going to be retired and long gone, okay? To me, also, the relationship is a failure. You know, it's like a marriage. You know, when people get divorced, it's kind of a failure, right? So I feel bad that we have this volatile relationship, this adversarial relationship. I don't appreciate it. I don't want it. I'd rather get along. Somebody has to give. I will be the bigger person. I will give, okay? But giving means we have to meet. We have to meet in the middle. We have to talk. We have to discuss. We have to resolve issues. I'm willing to do it. Where is he? He's sending me letters. You know what I'm saying? So he's not ready yet. He's not ready to resolve his issues yet. So that's the issue there. But yeah, and again, respect is earned. And just by meeting and resolving our issues. And if he said, hey, you did this wrong, Jeff, you did that wrong, let's do this, let's work this out. But fine. Now he's earned my respect because he's meeting with me. We're talking like businessmen, like adults, solving problems. That's how I've gotten where I've gotten. You know, I had to eat a lot of crow in 2010 when we had the banking crisis, and I had a lot of my properties. You know, I owed a lot of money at the time. I had a lot of mortgages, and tenants weren't paying, and the mortgage companies wanted their money. And I had to eat a lot of crow calling every single one of those mortgage companies and negotiating every day, hours on the phone, negotiating. I did not lose one piece of property, and I paid every single person back with late fees, with interest, with and my credit now is back to 800 where it was, you know, before that, and I ate a lot of crow, and that's the issue. That's how you grow your business. You accept your responsibility, you take on your responsibility, and again, you see, I share that information. You know, to some people that's personal information. What do I get to hide? Yeah, in 2010, I mean, I had some issues, you know what I'm saying, financials because of the banking crisis. My business took a huge hit. I didn't have what I have now. Now I can sustain a hit like that. 10 years ago, I couldn't. So, you know, COVID, I was able to sustain through COVID because of my other diversified businesses. Back then, I wasn't as diversified. So, but again, you have to eat crow. You have to do what you have to do. It's business. You know, I moved Butler Waste to make money. So Butler Waste. So here's what you got to understand. When you own a business in a town, and a lot of people understand this, because when you own a business, you are charged taxes on your property, your personal property, trucks, cars, in my case, dumpsters, $1 million worth of dumpsters, right? I have $1 million worth of dumpsters, right? So the taxes say it's $22 a thousand, right? So my tax would be, you know, what would be, you know, $22,000 would be $44,000, right? So when they started giving me a hard time regarding my Butler Waste, I said, maybe it's time for me to move that business. He's not going to be friendly. I don't want to fight with this guy anymore. It's been 10 years. That's when I decided to move that business. Now, I did buy a garage in Warwick to repair my trucks, but I'm not storing any equipment there. I will not give them the benefit of the doubt of my taxes for that property. I will not do it. So they're not getting it. So talk about moving out of Warwick. Yeah, I've moved a lot of my expensive assets out of Warwick because they're not getting the taxes from me. They don't deserve it. Again, if they treated me fair, you know, corporate sponsors, like I said, going back to the ring, you know, we're looking for a corporate sponsor. Now, I'm not asking for favors. All right, I'll be a sponsor if you give me this permit or you let me skate. Not asking that. Asking for fairness. And that's what I'm not getting. I don't want any special favors. I don't need any special favors. I want fairness. I want to go by the code. I want to, you know, that's all. Anyway, so if you notice I had a different background tonight. I just noticed it's getting dark out, right? Daylight savings is getting dark out. I'm actually upstairs in my sunroom, which is not very sunny right now. I just wanted a different, I could have put a fake background, you know, the green screen, but I didn't want to. So I use my studio sometimes. I'm in my office sometimes. Today I'm in the sunroom. Last summer, if you remember right, I actually sat outside by the pool and did a lot of my TikToks because I worked from home last summer. So I'll probably do that again this summer when the weather gets nice. How much is rent legally allowed to be raised? Well, that's a good question. You know, residential, you can charge whatever you want. But I mean, obviously, if you're not going, why would you do that if you're not going to rent the apartment?
Now, Section 8, there's only certain amounts you can raise legally. But if you have an apartment, you think you can get $2,500 for a $1,000 apartment, go ahead, God bless you. But if it stays empty for 6 months, you've lost all that money. You know, rent isn't a very interesting thing because I know people think, oh, Jeff, you're going to fix up the apartment and charge top of dollar rent. So rent, it's supply and demand. If I don't rent the apartment, that means I'm charging too much, right? I don't want empty apartments. Empty apartments does not pay my mortgages, my taxes, my insurance. I want my apartments to be filled. So in Rhode Island, you can charge what you want. There's no fixed rent like there is in New York, in Rhode Island. They don't have that. But what it is it's the market. You know, if people aren't going to rent the apartment, why are you going to charge that much money and have an empty apartment? So I know that we're always charging fair rent because the apartments are always full. And as soon as we have an apartment empty, it fills right up again. So that's why I think it's important to charge a fair amount of rent. Again, too, you have to be able to pay your bills. That's one of the problems I have. A lot of the properties I buy distressed, but also because they're distressed, the rent was really low. And also, the people I buy them from are usually, it's just kind of funny how it works out. My properties I buy, because they're distressed, I'm buying them from family members that inherited the properties. There's no mortgage. So because there's no mortgage, they kept the rents really low for the tenants. But I have to borrow the money to buy the house, so I have a mortgage. I can't afford to keep the rents that low. I don't need to bring them all the way to the top, but I got to bring them somewhere in the middle so I can pay my mortgage. And that becomes difficult for the tenants, and there is a fine line there, and I try to stay along that line, but I stay below market on my rents. I can say that. I stay below market. Thank you very much, Midland Music. I appreciate that. Let's see, what else is it? In Rhode Island. Yep, in Rhode Island. How much is rent another city getting my taxes for my business? Yeah, well, I don't mind. If a city welcomes me with open arms and treats me with respect and treats me well, I have no problem paying taxes, right? That's what you do. You pay tax. And if when I started my businesses, right, you accept certain things. I accept the fact that if I'm going to own my own business, I'm going to pay business taxes. I accept that. But I also accept that, certain things that I expect in return. And that's just to be treated fair. And I think that, talking about going back to the business taxes too, economic development, it's in a city's best interest to attract businesses that pay high tangible tax. A, the tangible tax goes right into the community. B, those businesses are not using the resources of the city. We don't use trash. The businesses don't use trash. They use private trash. So, like, for instance, all my Elmwood Realty properties in Warwick, right? I don't use the Warwick trash. I can't. I have to use private trash. So Elmwood Realty uses Butler Waste. And, of course, there's other companies, use Mega Disposal, Waste Management, whoever it may be. Liberty, all the different other companies that are out there. So those businesses are not using the resources of the city. That's why it's in the city's best interest to bring in businesses, attract businesses that pay high taxes. The other thing that businesses don't use is the school department resources. You're not putting kids into the school department. You're not making the school department hire teachers, buy buildings, busing, all that stuff. So that's why cities do like to attract lucrative businesses. Johnston is a good example. Boy, I tell you, I got so much respect for the mayor of Johnston. Look what they've done. They brought the Citizens Bank corporate offices there a couple of years ago. Now Amazon's opening up a huge facility there, right? With something like 5,000 employees or whatever. And think about the size of that building and the tangible tax, the private tax that's going to the city. And they're not going to use the city trash resources, and they're not going to use the city school system. There's a good example of a mayor who really has his finger on the pulse. And unfortunately, I guess he's not going to be running again because of term limits. But boy, what a guy that's turned around the city and really grown that city of Johnston. And I don't have much in Johnston. I am buying one piece of property two pieces of property once I close on that crazy one with the 4 houses. But the point is that I have a lot of respect for somebody like that. Cranston, the mayor of Cranston's trying to attract businesses to Cranston. They got that big golf facility coming in. So Cranston gets it. They get it. And you can see, when you drive through the cities, you can see the growth. And when you talk to the people that live in the cities, you can talk to the people who really see what's going on in the cities and the spirit of the city. And that's why
economic development. I can't talk enough about it. For a city, bring in businesses and help those businesses grow. It helps the city because it's more tax revenue to the city. You know, when cities build, when a housing development goes up in a city, yeah, the houses are paying property taxes, but it's usually families that move in. They're using city trash, city resources, city plowing, city municipal services, and the school department. So those taxes don't cover the cost of what's drawn out of the city when a housing development comes. Now you want a balance. You want both. You want housing and you want business. But you need the business to keep the housing taxes down to attract those people to buy in the city. Some mayors get it, some don't. You know? Let's see. Oh, look at this one here. So I had a certain boss in my workplace that made me so upset every day he worked. What did he do? What did he do? I'm just curious. How much is rent legally? I did that one in Roy. I did that one. Oh, here we go. Yeah, you're right. Johnston is impressing me more and more. The season needs to take note. I agree. You know, Johnston, Cranston, West Warwick. West Warwick is impressing me. You know, when I first started buying rental properties, right, I did buy a couple of West Warwick, but then I stopped buying a West Warwick. I started buying in Cranston and Warwick. But the last 2 years, I've bought more. I own probably 180 units in West Warwick right now, and growing. And I have a great relationship with the city. The tenants are great. West Warwick has changed even in the last 10 years that I've owned property in West Warwick. You know, my whole perception of West Warwick has changed. I admit that. Talking about, you know, somebody who prejudged, I used to judge West Warwick a little different. Now I don't. I really, you know, the property taxes are a little higher in West Warwick than other cities in town, which is unfortunate. And West Warwick is a tough city because they try. You know, talk about economic development. It's tough in West Warwick. The downtown area is a little depressed. A lot of empty storefronts down there. I just think there's a lot of things working against them. Parking is an issue down there. Route 2 is in Warwick, so people tend to go to Route 2 shopping instead of staying in downtown West Warwick. But again, I like West Warwick now. I like owning property in West Warwick now. I enjoy building and renovating in West Warwick now. It's kind of fun. It's fun when you have the support of the city. I got to say, it's fun. When you don't have the support in Warwick, it depresses me. You know, I mean, it bums me out, you know. I mean, I got the nursing home that I got in Warwick, right? That's going to be 50 apartments someday. Am I pushing that to get done right now? No. I'm using my resources for other projects. Why? Because of this bullshit with the building inspector. So, you know what? So that's what happens with me. I easily get distracted. If I'm not going to work with him, he's not going to work with me. Well, great, fine, I'll work somewhere else. I'll go somewhere else. That's all. Yeah, you know, I don't know that Costco's a dead issue. I keep hearing rumors that Costco's still coming. I don't know anything, but I hear rumors, people talking that Costco's still coming, Costco's still coming. That was a big thing in Cranston. They were trying to get a Costco to be built in Cranston. The problem was the location, easy access, easy off. You know, neighborhoods, there was going to be a problem in the neighborhoods. But I keep hearing grumblings that, you know, they're still trying to come, and I hope they do. I hope they do. I hope it works for everybody. You know, I understand the neighbors' concerns. You know, they don't want trucks driving through their neighborhoods. Who does that? Who wants that? I completely understand that, and I empathize with that. I'm hoping that they can come up with maybe some way of putting exit ramps on that would work out for everybody. The value that they will bring, the tax revenue, is just enormous. And I believe in that. I believe in, again, going back to the economic zone, bringing the tax money, keep the residential taxes low, and the services high. Cranston has a great recreation program. Where does that come from? The taxpayers. Cranston has a great school department. Where does that come from? The taxpayers. So, you know, it's a real balance. It's a balance, and that's why hopefully they'll do something with Costco. You know, yeah, a lot of us do. We drive to Avon to Costco. It's true. You're gonna go to Avon, Mass. You know. Yeah, so it's just, gee, I agree. I hear the rumors, and hopefully, you know, it's jobs. It's good for the economy. So hopefully it works, and hopefully it's something where, you know, everybody can get together, the taxpayers, the residents, and, you know, and they can do something, make it fair for everybody and work out. But I do understand. Look, it's just like my house earlier when the sun was out. You saw. That was 123 acres of woods up until 2 years ago. And you see they just developed some of it. They built 25 houses back there.
No, I don't mind. Okay, it's only 25 houses, and I'm still on a dead end where I am, and I'm very, very quiet where I am. But they built some houses, and I actually met the neighbors. The neighbors are nice. But again, some people frown upon that, right? You lose some of your privacy, this and that. I'm lucky because I got an acre of land, and I'm in the process of buying some more land in between where I can put some trees up. No, I'm gonna have some privacy, so I'm okay with it. But I understand where the Costco thing was a huge concern for the residents, and rightfully so. And it has to work for everybody. It's quality of life. Yeah, okay, we got Costco, but I got big 18 wheels driving by my front of my house every day. No, that's not going to work. So that's why hopefully that gets worked out. Small town mom. You are from a small town. How small is your town? I got to ask, right? Small town mom. State, I'm in Rhode Island. People asking what state. Cranston is a place for ACI. Cranston is a place for, that's true. That's true. So in Cranston, the Rhode Island Department of Corrections, the adult correctional institution, the prison, the state prison is in Cranston. So what somebody says, the bad inspectors can go there. Why not? That's exactly right. As far as I'm concerned, again, personal opinion, do I think he's breaking the law? Yeah, but I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a judge. Do I think he's breaking the law? Do I think he's violating my rights? Yes, I do. So let me say that, okay? But I think it's more of a civil matter, probably. I don't think it's worth going to prison over, right? Who gives a shit, right? He's picking on little old Jeff Butler. Who gives a shit? A couple thousand people in small town, northern panhandle of West Virginia. I did not know that West Virginia had a panhandle. All right, so you are a small town person, small town mom in West Virginia. Oh, that's funny. West Virginia is God's country, right? Don't they say it's God's country? It's nice out there, West Virginia. In fact, it's almost heaven, isn't it? Isn't West Virginia almost heaven? When I say it's almost heaven, right? Almost heaven, West Virginia, right? Blue Ridge Mountains. Right, John Denver, right? Oh, I'm right. I know I'm right. John Denver was always one of my favorite musicians. Oh, so I'm getting questions about the scratch on my head. All right, I'll tell the story again because it's been a couple hours. I scratched my head yesterday at Job Lot. I was trying on reading glasses like these. Actually, these might have been the ones, but no, they weren't. I was trying on reading glasses, and these are plastic, and the edge of the plastic was like jagged, from when they molded it. So I went to put it on my head, and boom, scratched my head. That's exactly what happened yesterday when I was trying on reading glasses. I ended up buying 2 pairs. I'm a big spender, $2.99 each. Okay, so that's where that happened at Job Lot. Trying on reading glasses. Now there's a funny example, right? Now that was my fault, right? I scratched my head. My question is, how many people would try to sue Job Lot for getting scratched on the head, right? Trust me, don't tell me I'm wrong on that one. How many people would think the first thing would be, I'm going to sue them. They scratched my head, right? Damages. I'm going to call the heavy hitter. But no, it's my fault. I'm the one who hit myself in the head. You got to take responsibility for your actions sometimes, adults, Oh my God, I was in your live when it was bright. Now it's dark. I know, it got dark like quick. I can't believe it. It was bright out. That was, the outside. I spent a lot of time last summer here doing my TikToks. When I first started doing TikTok, actually, this was kind of my studio. And I said, you know what? The weather's starting to get nice out. It's sunny out. I like to have a different background. So that's why I move around. Everyone laughs at me because I move around. My kids, they see me carrying my ring light and my iPads around. Where you going today, Dad? Because I always like to have a change of scenery for my lives, Anyway. I always wondered what it would be like to grow up in a small town. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm here. Don't worry about it. I know exactly what happened. I'm still here. Don't worry about it. Look, I'm here. Don't worry about it. You're not going to believe this one. See, live. That's what happens when I'm live. I'm still here. I'm going to go turn the lights on. So, what did I just say, right? I mean, is that comma or is that comma? What did I just say? My kids laugh at me. I'm carrying around the ring light, right? That's because my ring light is on batteries. It's rechargeable. Well, I know how long the batteries last now, 2 hours. So that's funny. Oh, that is so funny. Anyway, yeah, call maintenance. Yeah, I got to put a maintenance order in. They'll come right over. But yeah, so that's what happened. The battery died on my ring lights. Now I know it lasts about 2 hours. So that shows you how long I've been on TikTok. It's nice until you do something wrong and your parents know before you get home. Oh, yeah, huh? That's true. That is very true in a small town, right? Everybody knows everybody and tells everybody, But I always thought it'd be kind of cool to grow up in a small town. Everybody knows each other, That is so funny. But I always thought it'd be kind of cool to grow up in a small town. Everybody knows each other, That is so funny. It's just G 423. Is it really just G, or is there somebody else there too? You by yourself, just G. What happened to the tenant that took the money? Oh, so there's a story, right? So we know the tenant took the $12,000, right? We know that rent relief says they're giving it to me for 6 months now. I'm holding my breath. But here's another story. This is crazy. So about a month ago, my lawyer gets a letter from the Rhode Island, and I never heard of these people. The Rhode Island Human Rights Commission. Now, the Human Rights Commission, I guess some nonprofit, I don't know who the hell they are. I didn't even Google them because I could care. Well, they get a letter that the husband and wife that stole the $12,000 are filing a complaint against me. Okay, they filed a complaint against me. They signed an affidavit with the Human Rights Commission. Now, this is really interesting, actually, because it's going to be interesting how it plays out. They filed an affidavit saying that they took the $12,000 because I refused to take it. Okay, I absolutely refused to take the $12,000. No. How many TikToks are there saying I want my money, right? But this is what they wrote in writing. I refused to take it, and I discriminated against them and kicked them out of the apartment, okay, for no reason. So the Human Rights Commission took on that case. Okay, I guess they represent the downtrodden, right? I don't know, they like the ACLU. I don't know who they are. Maybe some people know that. They took on the case. But here's what's interesting on that. The affidavit they filed is completely full of lies and falsehoods. Obviously, I wanted my $12,000. He was supposed to give it to me. He stole it. They never told the Human Rights Commission that there are 2 court orders. One judge issued the court order for them to turn the $12,000 over to me, which they have not done, and another court order for them to pay me back rent of the $10,000 that they owe me. So there are 2 court orders. Never mentioned it. And right in the affidavit they signed, it says, I'm signing this knowing that if I put any faults, blah, 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 I am committing perjury and will be prosecuted. It actually says it in there. So my lawyer, when he got the thing, wrote right back to the Human Rights Commission and said, look, here's the facts. He did want the $12,000. Here's all the documents. Here's all the court records. Here's the 2 court orders. These people lied to you. They lied on the affidavit. We expect you to prosecute them. So it's been like 3 weeks. Yesterday, I saw an email from my lawyer to the Human Rights Commission. Have you started the prosecution of these 2 people that filed this false allegations against my client? Because now you have to represent my client because his rights were violated. So now the tables are turned. So now these people, this husband and wife, George Piener and Sarah Goslin, public record, they now have the state of Rhode Island rent relief chasing them for the $12,000 they stole. They actually have 2 court orders now against them, one of which, I think they moved to Connecticut, one of which there's a bench warrant. So if he gets stopped for speeding or whatever, then they'll arrest him. And 3 now, you get the Human Rights Commission now going after them for filing the libelous complaint. So they only dug a bigger hole for themselves. So that's a new part of the story. But my lawyer, who's fantastic, I can't say anything negative about Steve. He's been my lawyer 25 years. He is so upset how we were treated by Judge Van Coogan, how unfairly we were judged, and how Judge Van Coogan did not honor Judge Leach's court order. Judge Leach issued a court order. Keep him in jail until he gives the $12,000. And Van Coogan said, oh, no, the poor guy, let him out, poor thing, COVID. Oh. So what happened was that now you have that. You have all these things going on now. And then the third thing is this guy, they went and filed this false allegation, and now that he's going to be, So you have the Human Rights Commission chasing him, you got the state of Rhode Island chasing him, and rent relief chasing him. And I'm just going to sit back and watch what happens. At some point, it's going to close in on him. But that's what happened with him. So I'm glad you asked the question, because he dug his own hole, this stupid ass, And of course, we know the 12,000's gone. Okay, we know that was gone that month. We know that. He snorted it, smoked it, shot it, whatever they do with it. I ate it, drank it. I don't know what they do with it, okay? And that's the story with that. So, but I'm going to keep you up to date on that one because I actually forgot about the human rights thing until I saw that email from my lawyer. My lawyer is so on top of things. My lawyer is so on top of things that he sent that email yesterday, calendared. So he's not letting it go. He is not letting it go because, again, if I do something wrong, he will tell me, Jeff, you're doing something wrong. You're not doing the right thing. He'll tell me. But when I do something right, he will fight for me. And that's why I appreciate him so much. That's why I appreciate him so much. Because when I am wrong, Jeff, you're wrong, stop it. Don't do it, stop it. But when I'm right, he will fight for me. He will fight for me. Here's a good example. Back in May, when I put the video on Facebook, regarding the city of Warwick thing, at that point, I only put a very short 10-minute video about what was going on. The lawyer for Warwick contacted my lawyer and said, look, ask your client to take the video down. We will meet. We'll try to solve the problems. Steve, call me up. Jeff, listen, in good faith, will you take the video down? Let's see what they do. Let's try to work with them diplomatically, see what I'm... Sure, I'll do that, Steve. So I did. I took it down, and I waited 6 months, and we did make a little bit of progress, but now we've been stalled out for 3 or 4 months. Well, now I'm back to, you know what? I kept my word. You're not keeping your word, Warwick. Let's go at it. So that's why I'm at it. I do. That would be great. Listen, I mean, yeah, that would be wonderful. ComSkim D36. I mean, if you could email me in my bio, I do have my private emails in there. If you click the link, email me your contact me. Even if you could give me some advice, that would be great. I'd appreciate that. If you want to, send me your contact information, I can email you, and that would be great. I do have a lot of, just silly. I do, just silly. You and I have a kind of volatile relationship. We know that. But, I do have a lot of drama happening. And, it's the more, I guess, you get involved with, the more drama you have. If I wasn't doing anything, I'd have no drama, right? If I sat at home and watched TV all day, I'd have no drama. But I don't. I have so much going on with Butler Waste, the ice cream shops, opening a new ice cream shop, buying more property, buying distressed properties. I have so much going on right now, flip houses, that you're right. I'm bound to have issues going on. And I like to share all that information with people, and that way they don't have the same issues I have. But then again, you might have the same issues. Some of it is the cost of doing business. Some of it is part of doing business, having some of these issues. I feel a little naked not having my light, just so you know, okay? Are you Italian? No. So that's why my wife is full-blooded Italian, make money. My wife is full-blooded Italian. I don't know if you were asking me or if you're asking at Just G. Oh, you're asking Just G, aren't you? Oh, make money. What are you doing? Are you flirting on my TikTok? Is that what's going on over here? Are you using my TikTok as a forum to pick up women? Is that what you're doing? Anyway, I know not me. I realize it now. I realize that you're flirting over here. So I got to tell you a funny story. Oh, okay, Chris. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, please. That'd be great, Chris. Thank you. See, I mean, that's where when I started TikTok a year ago, I started it as just, hey, I think I'll put some information out here about, starting business, running business. Since then, I've made such good friends. I've had people come to my business, to the ice cream shops. Hey, is this the ice cream shop on TikTok? Which is great. I've had people call Butler Waste, Make Money did it. I have another Park Avenue Auto a couple weeks ago signed us up to do their trash. And those were all things I never expected. I'm not on here. I've never asked for a follower. I've never asked for a like, and I never asked for any business on here. But they're all residual effects of me being on TikTok. And it's kind of cool because that's the bonus. I did this just for fun. And then now, look, I'm getting a little, bonus. And, of course, you get advice from people that are much more knowledgeable than I am, right? Much more knowledgeable than I am. So, yeah, I know. I'm not worried about the 12,000. Like I said, see, now the human rights thing has nothing to do with the 12,000. That's what's really weird. This thing has it's grown, what do they call it, a life of its own. Because they filed this complaint with the Human Rights Commission against me, this discrimination thing, and it was lying, it was perjury. It has nothing to do with me. I'm out of it now because they perjured themselves. Now it becomes a legal matter between this agency and them. It has nothing to do with the $12,000. They could now they have a whole other battle on their hands. No, I'm not worried about the $12,000. By the way, rent relief, they have redeemed themselves, in my opinion. Yeah, we had this debacle at the very beginning. I was one of the first ones to get the rent relief, and when that 12,000 thing happened, since then they have paid everything. They've paid it on time. They're approving people. They're good to work with. They've really, how can I say it? They've matured as an agency, and they've gotten more efficient. The people they hire are more professional, better trained. Heather in my office, she says it's a pleasant experience. Like, she shows me, I go into her office, we actually have a portal. She can log on to the rent relief, and we see all the tenants that applied and where it stands. And it's important because these tenants that haven't paid their rent, we're in eviction with them, and we have to, obviously we're not going to evict them if we know they were approved for rent relief and the money hasn't come yet. So I got to say, rent relief, completely different story today than it was 6 months ago when we had the $12,000 debacle. So I have to say positive things about rent relief right now. They really have gotten better at what they do, and I appreciate that. So got to give them kudos for that, So that's the story with that. Yeah, you're right. They were on the news so much they had to do something, but it's kind of good in a way that, there's a good example. I complained, I bitched, I moaned. I was on the news. You know that. We're all 3 stations, Channel 10, 12, and 6 came to my office how many times? And if that is what it takes for me to be outspoken and Andrew to be outspoken and stand up and tell people what's going on, if that's what it takes to people to do their job, then that's what I will do. And that's exactly what I'm doing with Warwick. If that's what it takes, I will do it. Okay, I'm not going to sit back. And you know what? Yes, and going back to Just Silly, yeah, it's drama. It's drama. What are you supposed to do? Sit and not do anything, So, let's see. Am I an SLLC, pay yourself a salary? So my businesses are all LLCs except for Butler Waste. Butler Waste is an S Corp. LLCs, I don't have to pay myself a salary because I already pay self-employment tax. So if I paid myself a salary, I'd actually be paying tax twice. So those I don't pay myself a salary. Butler Waste, I can pay myself a salary to answer that question. And again, see, those were all tax things I never knew until I hired the CPA. And of course, I have the CPA, the full-time in my office too now advising me. Those are all things I didn't know. Before, I used to give myself a paycheck. I was paying taxes twice. How stupid of me, right? Now I know. I don't pay myself a check for the LLCs, but I do for Butler Waste. So I learned the hard way. Yeah, I eat free ice cream. See, that's exactly right. It's Judge G. You're absolutely right. It's too bad about Warwick being a mess because the mayor's a nice guy. It sucks because the mayor's such a nice guy, but he's not strong. Now, you can have a really nice guy who's not that strong, but then you surround yourself with the decision makers, the strong people, so you can tell them what to do, you can be good cop, bad cop, right? So the mayor can be the good cop, hire somebody who's tough, even your chief of staff, tell the chief of staff, do this, fire this one, hire this one, straighten this mess out, and give that direction to your chief of staff. That way you still can be the nice guy, you can still look like the nice guy, you'll get reelected, but you have somebody who's your hatchet person. And that's what he doesn't have there, because he is a nice guy, Route 2 empty near the airport. Yeah, Route 2 is has a lot of empty spaces, make money. You're right. The airport is interesting. So what happened near the airport, because I own property across from the airport, full disclosure, I own property behind Wendy's. What they did is they rezoned that years ago. It's called the intermodal zone. You know how the zoning different cities, you have residential, commercial, industrial, light industrial. Anyway, so they rezoned it the intermodal zone. So you're only allowed to do certain things in that zone. Car rental agencies, hotels, restaurants. There are certain, they've limited what you can do there. That's why there's a lot of empty space there, because it's limited to what you can do for the intermodal zone. The property I own there is multifamilies. I have multifamilies there, so it's residential, so I'm okay. But if you notice, when there's property for sale in that area, it will say intermodal zone because you're very limited to what you can do there. Make money vanilla soda. I love vanilla soda. I'm actually drinking zero sugar, backwards, zero sugar, Dr. Pepper. Zero sugar. I try to drink zero sugar. I did hear about that. It's just, yeah, there hasn't been much, so let me tell you a story about that. And that scared me when I saw that. Boy, I'll tell you, what a connection. So I own property across from the airport, right behind Wendy's. I do a lot of traveling. Whenever I travel, I park at my property. I have a parking space there that is reserved for me. My family or I will park at my property and I walk across the street. I go right across from the Wendy's into the parking garage, and I walk through the parking garage to the airport because I do a lot of traveling. I always get nervous, especially at night. Cars come flying down Post Road, I'm going to get hit by a car, right? You got to be careful. I saw that news story the other night about the body they found over there in the bushes, right in front of that garage, and I'm thinking to myself, that could have been me. That could have been somebody crossing the road, got hit by a car, thrown into the bushes. It's been in the bushes how long now? They said it was like decomposed. So, not to get, gross or anything, but that's what I thought about. That's exactly what crossed my mind. It must have been somebody crossing the road from the airport, got hit by a car, could have been a homeless person, whatever it might have been at that point, and because they weren't noticed, or they haven't been noticed missing. Nobody filed a missing persons report. And yes, the other day, but I haven't heard anything since then. I heard that they found the body, but I haven't heard anything since then. But I thought the exact same thing. Whatever I'm drinking has me hyped up. Well, it's Zero Dr. Pepper. I don't know. Is there caffeine in it or something? I get hyped up just because I get excited about answering questions, I think. Kathy back. Let's see. Scary thought. Yeah, well, that's exactly what I thought when I saw that news story, because that's right where I cross the road. It's right where I cross the road when I travel. So what I do is when we travel with my family, I'll drop my wife and kids off at the airport. I drive across the street, park the car at my property, and then I just walk back to the airport. It's literally right across the street. It's very convenient. Or if it's pouring rain or snowing, my brother actually lives in my building there, so he'll drive me across the street, or if I have to. But typically, I usually walk. It's not bad at all. The guy who threw the garbage at the worker, he paid the fine and he still lives in the apartment, and I think he's embarrassed and realizes that what a bad decision that was, right? We called him out on it. Here's a good example. I will call anybody out because I take responsibility for my actions. And by the way, if you on TikTok, that's why I have thick skin. People can call me out. If people see, Jeff, you did something wrong, Jeff, you did this wrong, call me out on it. I will accept my responsibility. If I effed up, I will say I effed up, So that's the thing there, that, because I call people out, I expect to be called out. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So I don't know if I'm a goose or a gander, but whatever's good for one of us, rent control. We don't have rent control like in California or in New York. There's no rent control here, except for Section 8. If you want to consider that rent control, Section 8 does dictate to you how much you can charge for an apartment. But it's fair. It's market rent. It's not any low rents. That's why, for me, we accept Section 8. In any one of my properties, I always say it. I have no problem with accepting Section 8. We have really good Section 8 tenants, good housing tenants. But no, there's no rent control here. Oh, God, my texts are going crazy here. I guess Tom Brady announced that he's actually coming back to the NFL after previously announcing, let's see, it's right there. Yeah, make money. You're saying it at the same time. You beat me this time, though. I beat you the last time when he announced his retirement, but you beat me this time, make money. We were on TikTok Live the last time this happened, remember? We were on TikTok Live. I saw a news story. I announced Tom Brady's retiring, right? And look at that's so funny. Tom Brady's coming back. Isn't that funny, make money? Last time we were live on here again when that happened. That is so funny. So, all right. Well, I guess my Tom Brady autographed football now just dropped in value again, right? Because now he's coming back. Yep. Well, here's the question. Where is he returning to? Any thoughts on that, make money? Yeah, where's he going to return to? Now, that's the question. Charlie joined, Dave joined. Today, a lot of people joined. Boy, I got 11,000 likes today on the top there. 11,000 likes. Well, that's a lot. That's crazy. Oh, he's coming back to Tampa? Yeah, well, whatever. Big deal. Big deal. I figured he might go to a third. That would have been kind of cool. But, hey, what are you going to do? What is my vacancy rate? Is it hard to rent and find new tenants? So, very good question. My vacancy rate is I would say zero. Now, but let me preface it by saying any apartments that are not rented are apartments we're working on, painting, cleaning, remodeling, fixing. We don't have empty apartments where we're trying, they're sitting there empty because we're charging too much rent. So our vacancy rate right now is pretty much zero, and that's pretty good considering I own 380 units. I would say 364, 65 of them are rented. The other ones, for instance, the 39-unit building in Cranston, the second floor, the 20 apartments on the second floor, they are empty, but they're empty because we're rebuilding the deck. So I don't consider that vacancy because I can't rent them now anyway. They're not legal to rent out. So right now, all of our apartments are rented. And I think that that's important to note. So when people say, you're a landlord, you're this, you're that, you guys suck, blah, blah. Well, if we did, and maybe we do, then we would have a lot more empty apartments than that because obviously people wouldn't want to rent from us. But yeah, so our vacancy rate is very, very low. You're a Steelers fan. So listen, I'm a football fan in general. I love watching football. I can't say I was that way 10 years ago. I've become a football fan. If there's a game on, I'll watch it. NFL. If there's a game on, I'll watch it. And this year, like I said, I really enjoyed watching a lot of different games this year. And so, when Tom Brady left New England, I know a lot of New England fans followed Tom Brady because they thought he was the end-all. I was disappointed he left. I liked him in New England, obviously. I got his autographed football. I really enjoy him. Enjoyed watching him. I got some great signed posters of him and Edelman when they played together. So I was disappointed when he left, but I'm still a Patriots fan. I'm in New England. I'm a Patriots fan. I like the Patriots. I like Belichick. What a great leader. What a great coach. I mean, I just so that's So anyway, but it's interesting because how many people live in New England and are fans from like make money? He's a Steelers fan, right? So good friend of mine, Bob. He's a Giants fan. So I mean, everyone has their own team that they're fans of, right? Oh, I am too. Yeah, no, Patriots have a great quarterback right now. There's no reason to. Right now, the Patriots, he was great. Listen, he broke his own records this year. No, the Patriots are rebuilding. They're going to do well. Do I have any Section 8 abuse, and do you report it? Oh, yeah. So here's the story with Section 8, okay? I will rent Section 8 people if they pass our background check. I will rent to them. But the minute they abuse the system, boyfriends move in, girlfriends move in, friends move in, absolutely I report it. In fact, there was a city in Rhode Island that was not enforcing the rules. And I had to go above them to the funding agency and say, look, we got a problem here. They got people moving in. Because the Section 8 is our tax money. It's my tax money too that's paying for Section 8. So when they have a boyfriend or girlfriend move in, as a landlord, they're using my heat, my hot water, my electric, they're using my resources, my parking lot. Why am I letting the boyfriend or the girlfriend? So I have a great line, I have a great line to when they let, they let a boyfriend move in. I'm like, look, he's getting some, I'm not getting any. I'm getting it, but I'm not getting it the right way. Bullshit. So yeah, no, I report it. I don't like the abuse. I don't appreciate the abuse. Whether they had a boyfriend moving in or whether they're running a business out there, whether it's a drug business or something. I will not tolerate abuse of Section 8 in any way, shape, or form. We report it. My office reports it. And I make sure the agency enforces the rules because it's not fair. It's not fair to us taxpayers. And it's not fair, again, let's talk about the neighbors. If I have a 6-unit apartment house and I have a lady, we'll use a lady or a guy, most of the time it's women, just share issues. Supposed to be in the apartment by herself, but she has a boyfriend and 2 kids move in. Well, what happened to the quiet enjoyment of the rest of the people in the building? Why do they have to put up with all the noise coming from that apartment? A, they're not supposed to be there. B, I rented it to one person. So yes, I report the abuse, and we really stick to the law as far as Section 8 goes, and I will not I will not allow it. And at that point, I had just bought property in this town, the town that wasn't enforcing the rules. So I was new to them; they were new to me. So it was a little bit of a volatile relationship. And I was like, look. You got rules. You expect me to abide by the rules. You expect me to have certain things in the apartment. I expect you to abide by the rules. This is a relationship. Section 8, you make a relationship with the housing of that city, whether it's, Coventry Housing, Warwick Housing, West Warwick Housing, Cranston Housing, Pawtucket Housing, Providence Housing. These are all different agencies that we deal with, right? It's a relationship. It's a contract between the two of us.
If I'm keeping my end of the contract, you got to keep your end of the contract, and you need to enforce the laws. And they are not supposed to have people win.
They're supposed to, first of all, they're supposed to, vet the person. If somebody's moving in, they have to go through the agency, they have to get approved by them, and they have to get approved by me. So, we enforce the laws, and we force them to enforce the laws. Job security does not truly exist, that's for sure, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. Yeah, okay. One can argue the richer you are or whatever, that you have job security, or, but let's look at some of these actors. Let's think about it today. Kevin Spacey, because The Negotiator was on. The Negotiator was one of my favorite movies. Loved The Negotiator in 1998. Loved the movie. It was on Netflix the other day, and I said, look at poor Kevin Spacey, right? He's gone, right? Here's a guy, right, Academy Award winner, had all kinds of money, making all kinds of House of Cards, very successful, and now look at him, right? Where's his job security? He got erased, right? So there's a good example of no job security, right? So nobody truly has job security. I mean, I guess you can create your own problems like he did. Don't get me wrong, but again, did he expect all the bottom to drop out on him? I don't think so. Tell them at the ice cream place you're a fan-free ice cream cone. Yeah, fan-free. Oh, God. Well, so there's a good example. So as a renter, you pay $1,500, your neighbor pays $800. So, that is a problem. When you have an apartment house, right, and you have the tenants say $1,500. You pay $1,500. Now there is a Section 8 person there. They pay a percentage of their income. So say their rent is $1,500, the town pays some, housing pays some, and they pay the difference. The rent ends up being $1,500, but yeah, what happens is obviously they're not paying as much as you are personally, but the rent is the same for everybody. In my case, that's how it is. I don't give discounts that way because it's not fair. But I am very fair about who's in the apartment, who's renting the apartment, who's supposed to be in the apartment. That is a huge problem for me. And it's crazy because if they called us and said, hey, we want our boyfriend to move in, what do we need to do? We would tell them, here's what you need to do. Call housing, call here, here's how much your rent's going to change. But they don't want to be dishonest. They're not happy with getting that, not all of them, the bad apples, are not happy with getting that free money. They're going to take that much more advantage. That's why we report them. That's why we report them. There's someone on here that eats. Oh, really? Somebody with the East Greenwich store. Well, the store's opening next Friday. I didn't see that. East Greenwich. I looked for your Tessa so I can say hi. Oh, yeah. So that's funny, Steven. Yeah, I'm not in. Well, I'm not there. I was there last week. I'm not there obviously every day in East Greenwich, but yeah, that store's opening up next Friday. By two stores, East Greenwich and Cranston's opening up next Friday. The new store, I think, is going to be 2 more weeks. We're still waiting for equipment. Hershey's, as you know, we're selling Hershey's at the new store. They're supplying us with some equipment that we're waiting for. I love your post and lives. I live in West Greenwich, and whenever I go by your ice cream shop, oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, the ice cream shop in East Greenwich. So now there's another TikTok. Next door to that, we were opening up a salon, was renting the store from me. Was supposed to open up, and all of a sudden last week, she decided not to take the place. So we got a little bit of an issue there. Andrew's dealing with that because she signed a lease, a 3-year lease, and supposedly she found another place that was cheaper and all this stuff. So there's where that will become, again, information for people that are landlords. She did sign a 3-year lease with me with a personal guarantee, so technically she's on the hook. But anyway, but as an owner of a property, it is my job, my responsibility to relist it and try to rent it. I have to mitigate my damages. Once I relist it, she's only on the hook for what I lost in revenues. So I'll talk about that because that's a whole other story. I'm hoping that she changes her mind and takes it and follows through with her obligations, to be honest with you. I had to remind my landlord that we had to re-sign our lease, and he raised our rent $50 without notice. So if your lease was up, and he gave you the proper 30-day notice to raise your rent, then he did the right thing. If he just calls you today and says, hey, your rent's going up this month, $50, absolutely not. Has to give you a full month. See, people get, I know they call it a 30-day notice, and they really should change that term because it's really not 30 days. It's the next full month. So good example is today's what? Today's the 12th, I think? I don't know. What's today? 13th, I don't even know, today's the 13th. So if I gave somebody today a 30-day notice that their rent is going up, it's not the 13th of April, it would be the 1st of May. In Rhode Island, the 30-day notice means the next full month. So that's why they should change the term, because tenants, rightfully so, misunderstand that and think that, hey, I'm calling them up today, I'm raising your rent, $50 is going up on the 13th of the next month. No, it doesn't work that way in Rhode Island. I have the whole month of March to raise your rent, but it will not be able to, I cannot raise it until May 1st. April would be the full month. So that's where it gets confusing for tenants, and it gets confusing for new landlords too, because they think 30 days is 30 days, but it's not. It's the next full month of raising the rent. But if you had a lease in place, obviously he can't raise your rent to $50. But if your lease is up, unfortunately, he can give you proper notice and raise your rent. Yeah, if you need a CO2 detector, so what I always do, if you have a smoke detector in there and you need a CO2 detector, I don't know why you'd be pulling teeth. I would put them on notice that, by code, you need a CO2 detector and you want one, put them on notice, send him it in writing. I always tell people, do things in writing. You do it in writing, there's your backup. I learned that from my lawyer years ago. Best thing I ever did was listen to my lawyer on that. I do everything in writing, So I didn't put the barrier up. Yes, yeah, that's funny. I have not put the garbage truck is still there, but we are putting the barrier up. I want to put something that's decorative. We had put a big cement block there a couple years ago. That lasted for about a month till the lady drove over it and totaled her car. What it is that's at a bad intersection, so people cut through my parking lot to beat the red light at the intersection, so we put up a barrier. What we do want to do is we want to plant planters there. We want to put a curb in with some planters, bushes and trees, and decorative, and that way the cars cannot zoom, because I'm afraid a car is going to hit one of my patrons, the ice cream shop, or the salon or whatever opens up next door. So yeah, so we are doing something there. We're just trying to figure out what will be decorative, what will look nice. Probably an island. We're going to do a raised island with a raised bed. Problem is, as soon as I do that, somebody's going to drive over it and kill all my bushes and trees. I know that. That's what's going to happen there. Anyway, all right, let's see, what time is it? All right, I got 5 more minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and it's a 3-hour live. Well, not really a 3 hour, because I started late today, didn't I? Well, 2.5 hours. So, let's see. Let's see. I'm just saying if I missed any questions. I hate missing questions. I hate missing questions. So I made the joke about the Tesla the other day. All right, so let's talk about that. So on TikTok, I did a TikTok about my Tesla. I charge it with my solar panels, and I'm saving lots of money, right? Because I drive a Tesla, right? But then on the other hand, I have 16 garbage trucks that are all diesel. They get 4 miles to the gallon. And last week, my gas bill for those trucks was $3,800. So I made the joke about, I bought the Tesla in 2019. I'm going to save all kinds of money. I'm king of the mountain, right? I'm saving money. I'm charging it for free. Hey, who's better than me, right? Well, that was in November of 2019. I started Butler Waste in July of 2020, 7 months later, right? And now all of a sudden, what am I doing? I'm spending $3,800, $4,000 a week on gas. That's just for Butler Waste. I have 12 vehicles for Elmwood Realty that are on the road, but I have 3 Priuses, which are fantastic cars. I wish I had more Priuses for the property managers to drive, the maintenance guys to drive, because they get 52 miles to the gallon, But it's just funny because I was making a big deal about how I save money with my Tesla, and of course then I get the huge gas bills for Butler Waste, and they're just only going up higher, No, I didn't think the Pats would bring Brady back. I think they're very, very pleased right now. I think they're pleased. I don't think they would do that. Yes. Hey, I thought he was going to San Francisco as well. I really thought he was going to. If he came back, I thought he was going to go to San Francisco. Let's see. All right. I guess that's it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the Priuses get 52 miles to the gallon. It's unbelievable. I mean, for me, what a great car, right? All right, they may not be the most beautiful car, and they may not get out of their own way once in a while, but for what we use them for property management, drive around to the different properties, going to see the tenants, going to the properties inspections, they're the perfect car. Why waste the money on gas, right? In fact, my son's going to be 16 next year. He already knows he's getting one of my 2010 Priuses. I got 3 2010 Priuses. They've been on the road. They're great cars. So when he's 16, that's his first car. He's not going to get a new car. He's going to smash up and bang up the 2010 Prius and get 52 miles to the gallon while he does it. That's what my son's going to do when he starts driving in next August. So anyway. If buying a property that seems to have troubled tenants, what is the process? Well, I'll tell you the process. When I buy a property that has troubled tenants, I introduce first of all, the very first thing I do is I go around and I introduce myself to the tenants, if they want to meet me. And I tell them, look, under new management, I give them a letter of our rules and regulations. Here you go. It's a new relationship. It's what you make of it. Here it is right here. I don't care about your past. Here we are. I'm a new property owner. I'm a new landlord. Here's our rules, here's our regulations, here's what you pay the rent, here's when it's due, here's the late fees. It's all spelled out. I have the same letter I give to every single tenant that when we buy a piece of property. Now it's up to them. Do they want to have a good relationship with me, or do they want to be evicted eventually? Now what I do is on any new tenants that I think are trouble, I leave them month to month for 90 days. I leave them month to month so we can get to know them. We're going to know pretty quick whether they are good tenants, whether they're bad tenants, whether they're going to work with us or not. And at that point, then we make a decision and we go. If they're going to be a bad tenant, we just give them 30 days notice to move out. That's how we do it. I don't waste any time. Like Andrew says, we pull the Band-Aid off. If they're a bad tenant, we pull the Band-Aid right off. It is what it is, you know, and that's how I do it. So that's my process of doing it. I tell them, it's a new relationship. It's how you want to make it. For the most part, that works. That works because now we've set the tone. They realize that we're a proper management company. We're professional. We're by the book. The ones that can't handle it, that abused the landlord before, took advantage of situations, they're going to fail and they're going to move. That's what's going to happen there. Hey, UK, thank you. You love my videos, my personality. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you looking, watching me from over the pond, right across the pond, right? So I appreciate that, There's cold area coming from the windows, doors, and light switches. Does the landlord fix this? The landlord should fix it. Are you paying the heat or is he paying the heat? If the landlord's paying the heat and he wants to spend money on cold air coming in, shame on him. If you're paying the heat, you have a right to ask the landlord to fix it. In Rhode Island, there are actually agencies. There's RISE, Rhode Island Saving Energy. It's a free service. You call them up. They'll come and they do these home energy assessments and they look at stuff like that. And what they do is they'll do this programs that National Grid does where they do free insulation, very discounted insulation. The landlord should take advantage of that. If he doesn't, he's stupid. But typically, if there's cold air coming in from the light switches, that means there's no insulation in the walls, which is bad. Some of the old properties I buy the same way. But what happens is when the tenant moves out, we open it up, we insulate it, and bring it up to code, and whether I pay the heat or not, because A, it prevents pipes from freezing, which is my problem. Okay. B, it prevents a tenant from moving out, which is going to be my problem, right? Because the tenant's not going to stay there. If the tenant's paying the heating bill and there's cold air coming in and they're paying extra because of it, then obviously they're going to move. So from a landlord's point of view, professionalism, you'd think the landlord would want to solve that problem. I would ask the landlord to fix it, and tell him it's a problem, So what happens if the tenant decides to squat in the property? Well, we've had that problem. You pay the heat. So yeah, I would just tell them about RISE, mention about RISE. They come in and do a free home energy assessment. Would he allow you to let them come in? Because you could call them up and have them come in and see what happens, Let's see. Do you know anyone who paints cabinets from Cranston? No, that's a good question. I mean, my painters go into apartments, they'll paint cabinets. Do I know anybody that just paints cabinets? No, that's a really good question. The only thing I would say is you could go into any of the paint stores, Sherwin-Williams, Home Depot, Behr, Lowe's, and maybe ask the paint department, do you know anybody that paints cabinets? The people that sell paint there probably do know somebody, right? So you could do something like that, maybe ask the question, but I don't know anybody that paints cabinets. Like I said, my painters paint the apartments, and sometimes we paint cabinets. A tenant decides to squat in the property. Well, I've had that problem on TikTok. If you remember, if you look back at some of my early TikToks last summer, we've had squatters. So when they squat, the only thing you do is you have to go through the eviction process. If they refuse to move, you have to just go through the legal eviction process where you evict them due to non-payment of rent because they're squatting, not paying rent. So you evict them. They're not supposed to be there. And in Rhode Island, it probably takes about 6 weeks to get them out. But then once they're out, and you start over again. But that stinks. I hate squatters. I really, really hate squatters. That's one of my pet peeves. So, make money as a painter. There you go. So hold on now. Make money. If you are a painter, all right. So yeah, maybe you guys can hook up somehow. Where is she? Asked about the painting. Shoot. That would be cool. Make money. I didn't know you were a painter. Make money. I need a ton of painting done. Why didn't you tell me? Actually, I have an apartment in Cranston that needs to be painted and make money. If you're looking to paint an apartment, I got a 2-bedroom apartment that I actually am sitting there, and that's the only thing I'm waiting for is to be painted. I had no idea. Anyway, so Ocean State 808 needs a painter, okay? And then, if you guys want to communicate with each other, or if you want Ocean State 808, if you want to email me in my bio your information, and then I can get it to make money because I have his information. If you want, and if he wants to, talk to you about it, that'd be great. Okay. Jeff, I've been wanting to ask, when is it enough? When do you walk away and have someone take over? Well, that's a really good question, Gulfstream. So I'm 57. So I'm not really ready to walk away and let someone take over, if that's what you're asking about me anyway. Though I have, Brian's running Butler Waste, Andrew's running Elmwood Realty. I am lucky that I got some great people that will take over when I do walk away. I've been thinking a couple of years. I've been thinking 2 years. I kind of have a 2-year plan with some of my properties to get to a certain level and then walk away at the same time. For instance, I've been saving my ice cream shop so my daughter can work at my ice cream shops. That was one of the reasons why I've always had them, so my kids could work there. My son's working there, my daughter's working there. She's 13. When she gets done working there, then I might sell those businesses, right? So, she'll be working there next year, and then she'll probably work there during high school, and then maybe so everything's going to come to a head, when my kids go to college, I think, is when I might start saying to myself, hey, wait a minute here. My kids are in college. Maybe my wife and I can start enjoying life, and we can start doing even more traveling, and then it might be time for me to, semi-retire or slow down. But right now, I got a lot of energy. I'm 57. I don't feel 57. I'm young, and I like doing things. I'm still enthusiastic into buying things and being aggressive. So that's a good question. But I think about it now, though. You know why I think about it? Because I have a lot of friends of mine that are retiring right now. They're a few years older than me, but still they're friends and they're retiring. And I'm like, I'm still working and they're all retiring. So, but no, I'm going to keep going. Right now I'm going to keep going. So, make money. Yeah, that's good. Buying a foreclosed house at the courthouse. How do you check the other liens on the property? Well, so here's the story on that. That's interesting. You're buying it at the courthouse. The only thing you can do is you can go to City Hall and do a title search and find out about the liens. You find the property, the address, you go to City Hall, or you hire a lawyer to do a title search to find out any of the liens on the property. And that's the way you can do it before you buy the property. If you're buying a property, though, at foreclosure, a lot of the liens go away, except for taxes. Any other liens go away. School loans, credit card debt, car taxes that are attached to the property, they get forgiven. They go away at a foreclosure sale, an auction. The only ones that stay are the taxes. If I go to an auction, they'll announce $6,000 due on property tax. That means I have to pay those $6,000. But any other liens go away in Rhode Island. Well, see that? Your mom's 68, still running her business. See, some people like working. I enjoy working. Do I enjoy everything? No, absolutely not. Do I hate some of the stuff we do? Absolutely. So I guess as I get older, I'm picking and choosing more of what I want to do or what I want to give somebody else to do. That's really my way of retiring. Hey, Andrew, you do this. Brian, you do this. Heather, you do this. Mike, you do this, and I leave the good stuff for me that I enjoy doing. That's happening. You know what I'm saying? And I find myself doing that lately. Like, I love the audiovisual business, and now that it's coming back, I'm doing a lot with the audiovisual business right now because I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed it, so I'm doing a lot with that. Anyway, but yeah, at 68, I mean, she must like doing her job. She must like whatever business is. She must love it. So what about buying? So here's a good question, and this just happened to me. How about buying a property that tenants are paying 1/3 of market? Okay, so I just bought a piece of property in East Greenwich. The apartment should be about $1,300 a month. The tenant is paying $400 a month. Why? I don't know. So what do I do? What do I do? I have a mortgage now. I cannot afford that tenant. And by the way, heat's included. So really, the tenant's living for free. What do? I have a mortgage. I have no choice but to say to that tenant, look, the market value is $1,300. You're paying $400. I need to get you up to $1,000 or you're going to have to move. I have no choice because I have a huge mortgage, a $3,000 a month mortgage I have to pay on that property. That person's living for free in a 5-unit building. What do you do? So if they're paying 1/3 of market, you have to have the confidence. They know they've been living there for free, taking advantage of the landlord living there for literally free. They know it. So when you have the conversation with them, they might get disappointed. All right, the gig is up. But it's too bad. They know it. So you have to have the tough conversation with them. I tend to say, look, I'd like to get you up to $1,000. I'll go up $100 a month for 10 months to up to $1,000. Andrew says, pull the Band-Aid off. Just tell them it's $1,000 next month, and they move. And I do understand where he's coming from because they know they were getting away with it. They know it. So let's see. 79, still in the same company for 40 years. So, my father is 89 and my mother's 89. My mother retired 10 years ago, believe it or not. My father retired at 65 years old. He was general manager of Leviton and Warwick. So he was 65. When he retired, that's when I bought the ice cream shop. It was really for him to run. So at 65, he left one job, took over managing my ice cream shops. Of course, it was only in the summer, but he managed my ice cream shops and still does to this day because he's a very active 89. They play golf every day. They're in Florida in the winter. They come here in the summer. When he's here in the summer, he runs my ice cream shops. He kind of supervises, manages them. The last couple of years, he's doing a little less. He goes around in the morning, make sure they have all their milk, the bananas, the soda, the supplies, make sure the change is made for the day. Because I have store managers now. Years ago, he was the store manager, but now I have store managers because he's in Florida now in the winter, and I open up the stores in March. He doesn't usually come home until May. This year, they're coming home early because my son's having his confirmation, so they're coming home for Benjamin's confirmation, and they're going to stick around. So he'll be overseeing the stores. But he's 89, and he still works at the stores, believe it or not. I am a slave driver, that's for sure. Anyway, so I guess that's pretty much it. I think I answered. Listen, you guys have been great tonight. Tonight has probably been one of the best conversations I've had where we've talked about so many things, about the tenants, the people. This has really been, make money. You're on most of them. Don't you think tonight's been one of the better ones? It's been great, Yes, yeah, my father, so the grandfather will be my daughter's boss, but she, and he was, free labor from Family's Best. Now, they get paid, so my kids get paid just like everybody else does. They don't make any extra, they do not make any extra, but they don't make any less either. They get paid the same amount of money. I treat everybody fair, just like Brian and Angel. Everyone gets treated fair in my family. But my son Benjamin did a great job last summer. So the other day I said to him, guess what? The stores are opening next week. Get me on schedule. He's like, so on one hand, he enjoyed making the money, but he doesn't like working yet. He'll get there, I hope. But are you kidding? Free labor? I can't get him to empty the garbage here. Well, that's what's funny. You can't get him to empty the garbage at home, but when he's at the ice cream shop, he has to put the garbage out, but he's getting paid for it. Well, it's a whole different story, right? It's a whole different story. So anyway, well, listen, guys, again, I appreciate everything. We stayed for a little. My light died, well, he will get a pay raise this year because it's his second year, so he will get a pay raise this year. It's his second year. When he turns 16, he automatically gets a pay raise anyway, so he'll get 2 pay raises. I have a mortgage on my current house, and I am living with my girlfriend. Should I rent or sell? Well, if you can afford to rent it and get some income, rent it. You know what I'm saying? The only thing is the market is high for selling right now. So in your mind, here's what you do. put it on the market for some crazy number. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, then you can always keep renting it, right? So, I mean, why not? Why not? You know? Anyway. Well, thank you very much, Crystal, for your nice words, and Gene, for your nice words. I appreciate everybody joining me. Now, again, I will remind you, it takes about a half hour for this to download, but I will put it on my YouTube channel. So if you just joined now and you missed it, I was on at 5:20 today. The whole thing will be on my YouTube channel, along with all my other ones on my YouTube channel, which is Jeff Never Had Job Security on YouTube. So, so if you want to watch this whole thing in its entirety, and again, I always like to remind everybody, if you're having trouble falling asleep tonight or any night, watch my TikToks. They're a great sleep aid. Okay, they'll put you to sleep. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that everybody likes my advice, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you. Let's see. Now, I can never end this thing. I don't understand it. This happened to me the other day, too. Oh, boy. And